Mm.
What are you doing?
I'm logging on with so I'm originally logged on through my DEVI consulting email address, but I also have a Zoom account with New York Life. So I'm logging both of my devices onto the meeting right now.
I was just signing in. I didn't even realize I was in. There go my name on the screen. I said, so everybody will have a picture in a box with their name in it, all right?
Or they could have a picture if you have Video.
Yeah, I had put video, start video. Let me see.
There you go. I
So
just
the
saw you.
Yeah, it came
There you
up
go.
and then
Yep, there you go.
wait, it disappeared.
And that
Okay.
volume down on this.
Oh, that's your volume. It's
Yeah.
off.
I'm turning it off. I turned it off, and I'm just gonna put a picture on one of these.
Okay, so I don't have to do any talking on this thing. I'm just view the people. What is this gonna be about?
But we usually have. Hold on a second. Let me I'm trying to figure out. Oh, I want to take this picture. I gotta figure out which one is which. They both say the same thing. Oh, it's this one right
So
here.
the person that's doing the talking, it's in a box with a block top by itself. That'll be the person that's talking. And most of the time it's gonna be you if I
Oh, there'll be a bunch of speakers.
well, I don't want to be speaking. I'll be listening.
Okay, so yeah, I'm surprised that it didn't come up with the picture, but that's fine. So we have a gentleman who played high school basketball. What's up, Ray? We have a gentleman who played high school basketball at Copeg and then went to Southern Connecticut and played basketball there. He's a social studies teacher in Bayshore School District. He played basketball with my brother in high school. He's pretty big community activist. So he's gonna come on and he's gonna speak a little bit about his organization and give us some information about people, basically, namely Black people. So Ray, what's up, man? Oh, you're on mute. Let me get you off mute. Oh, there you
How
go.
you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you.
All right, same here, same here. Ray, I don't know if you ever met my father-in-law, Curtis Petaway.
What's up?
Yo, nice to meet you.
All right,
So
same
Ray,
here.
so Ray worked with us. Ray worked with me at the firm I was at, NRL agency. He was one of the other agents there.
Okay.
Very nice to meet you. You have a beautiful family.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So guys they kind of straggle into the event, but I mean
It's early.
a lot of times when I have these study group events, we end up on Zoom for like 5 hours. So they kind of start to come into the room as they see fit. So
How long you think this will last tonight?
yeah, I mean, my hope is that I'm gonna stay firmly in 2-hour window. So at 8 o'clock, I plan to be to wrapping up, just because it's not just the study group tonight. It's more of a general Zoom event. So I invited people who are not a part of my study group for this tonight. So I just want to really make it about Juneteenth and just the weekend of Father's Day. I thought it was pretty cool to get on here and have some people speak about their experience as fathers and men and leaders in our community. So I think people need to hear that message. They need to see that. Buddy of mine, his son goes and hangs out in Wyandanch over the weekend, and it happened to be a shooting, and one of his buddies ended up actually getting shot and killed. Yep, he was, and how about this? This young man beat cancer last month. The one who got shot and killed. So, having positive examples of perseverance, of making progress towards, a generational thought process. I think that you got to pay attention to the people who have made good examples of how to make it. So, the more positive energy you surround yourself with, I'm sure the more positive, the more chance of a positive outcome.
Mm.
That's my feeling on it. So,
Yeah.
I haven't really gotten into too much trouble when I've done things positively and the right way. I tend to get in trouble when I go with the other side of my brain. So
All right. Well,
that's it. But at least you got your video to work, Dad. That's good.
yeah, I said I'll get it set up before we start, because the other time I used the iPad, and I said I put it on the computer.
Well, we're early as well, so it's
That's
5:55
why
right now.
I set it up. You said 6 o'clock. I said,
Yeah. And I got Charles calling me right now.
mm-hmm.
What's up?
Bobby
What's up,
went to the
Charles?
store.
So, when did you send out the new link? Because the last thing I had from you via email.
No, I sent the text to everybody today, and I sent. So I sent the text to everybody today, and I sent email with the new link. I think Friday. I'm sorry. It was like 2 or 3 days ago when I sent it. So it was just a short email that just said, "Here's the updated link for our Zoom event Friday." But
I see something from Sunday. It says, "Good evening, gentlemen. Hope this email finds you well below is Zoom information for event this Friday. The line is inviting you." It was very short. And then, because when I'm looking at the meeting ID, it looks different than the one that's in the text. That's from Sunday. That's the last thing.
What meeting ID do you have in the email?
And the email is 830-786.
Yeah, that's not it.
So I don't know if that's what you sent most recently.
I'm gonna check right now, but I know everyone who I have a cell phone number for, I sent them the actual link today as well. And a few days ago, I know that I sent the email out with the new link. I'm gonna look for it right now.
Yeah, I was just calling to make sure you double check that sent email, because maybe I wasn't on it because I don't see it. I just want to make sure there wasn't no confusion, and if so, you can just hurry up and send out the correct one.
Yeah, I'm checking right now. You didn't send your buddies that you have cell phone numbers for the text that I sent you today?
I texted everybody. If I was just in case, because like me, I'm going on my computer, so I was gonna access the link through my computer, and I realized like those needed IDs are different.
Okay. Okay, so I'm in my email. I'm almost in my email now. I got both of these laptops set up, so I see Ira just logged in. Okay, so. Okay, so on Wednesday, June 17th, I sent the email to everyone.
Okay, yeah, I don't have.
And it's got the 89. It has the 898 meeting ID, which is the one we're on right now.
Okay, cool. All right, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
I didn't get that one.
Yep, no, it's here. I don't know how you didn't get it, but maybe I put everyone on there except for you. Maybe it's a sign.
Well, maybe
Yeah, maybe it's a sign.
Time to cut ties.
Yeah, basically. All right, I'll see you when you get in here. All right.
So this is called The People in Your Life?
Yes, it's a little bit. It's more of I think it's more of the study group than it is the people in your life. I just allowed the people in your life to be a part of the event. So let me see. Do I have to unmute you, sir? Is that? There you go.
Hey, what's good?
What's going on, Dr. Johnson?
I'm all right. I'm out here sweating, cooking on this grill.
Okay.
Trying to be done before this meet, and then of course that didn't happen. I started at 4, but I decided to make a special kind of cornbread for my kids. And so now I'm grilling this salmon, little barbecue salmon, and made some mac and cheese, some collard greens, and some cornbread. So.
Okay. I see you got a nice sky in the background there. I see you back there. So yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I was outside in the yard, but sometimes my internet service, it kind of goes in and out there. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna come and sit my behind here in the living room and hopefully have no issues with my service. So Ira, Mr. Coach Hunt.
Yes.
How's it going? How you doing?
I'm here.
All right. I gotta tell you, I've heard so much about you. From Charles McCann, so many stories. But the first time I saw you on the sideline, I sat there and I was like, okay, I see the stories match the coach. How are you? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm blessed.
Yeah, man. It's a pleasure having you on here. It's a pleasure having you on here tonight.
Thank you. Can you see me?
I can.
Okay.
So you're more of a shadow. Now I can see you clearly now.
All right.
I think the window behind you probably gives off more of a glare.
I'll come out the gazebo. Oh, now it's a shadow again, right?
Now you're fine right now. We can see you now.
Fine right now?
Yep.
Cool.
That's good. I got some, hold on a second. Let me invite some other people into this room.
You good right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay. I see we starting to add to our attendees right now. We got another beautiful sky in the background at someone's location.
Yeah, I'm outside. I'm outside in the backyard.
You can go inside, but
where I love to be.
Yep. I love to be in my backyard as well. I just worry about my internet service out there. I got to get a better broadband. Charles.
I see.
Charles, what's going on? What's going on with your pops? He's trying to figure out his audio. He probably is having issue with his signal.
Who knows? We'll be lucky if we get him to join. Oh, there we go.
Look at his picture though. Oh man, that's some picture. That is some picture right there.
I don't even know how to do that myself though.
What's that?
I don't know how he got that picture.
Who, your dad?
Yeah, he had a picture like set up instead of the video. I don't know how to do that.
whatever picture you have saved, according to that particular email address, you can, once you turn your video off, then you can actually, your automatic picture will pop up. So like, I'm gonna turn mine off. And you see that guy.
Look at my sister. Look at my sister in her background. She just got to move around with these backgrounds. Oh man, that is great. Star, that back, you serious right now with your background, huh?
Yeah, I'm on the water. I'm out there on the sea. I'm on the cruise right now.
That is great. That
the
is great.
Always the place to be.
Yes.
I'm trying to get the sun.
Okay, I'm gonna go on mute and shut my video off because I'm driving. Okay.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. We support that. We support that. All right, Mr. McCann is trying to connect his audio. Here we go. Trying to connect his audio here.
No, my audio is working. I'm trying to turn down this volume.
No, your name's I would never call you Mr. McCann, by the way. Just so you know. Like you're junior, right? You're junior right now. Your dad's in the room, man.
Put some respect on my name.
Really? Like so he really thinks that I'm gonna sit here and call him Mr. McCann. You see what's going on here?
Hi, Ira.
Hey.
Hey.
You don't have to get that close. You don't have to get that close.
I know, right? I'm not used to this kind of stuff.
Okay. You want me back on mute, Divine?
No, you're fine. I do
Okay.
need to, Charles, let me ask you a question. Did you see
Yeah.
my request to make you a co-host?
Yeah, it says I'm
Okay,
a co-host now.
Okay, because you know that I'll start slacking with admitting people into the room. So,
Yeah.
all right, good to know. Christian, I see Christian here.
Yo, Tobin, back up.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, so we're back up a little. Hey, what's up, Christian? What's going on?
Dag, Charles, I see you got the fresh cut.
Nothing much. I'm well,
There,
brother.
kind of like you.
See, corner. Green. You like my jump shot?
Charles, did you get a haircut?
I did, and then I tried to do a little tornado
Yeah, I got
twisty
mine,
thing
baby.
up here.
Let's start talking about haircuts.
I'm going to. Okay, so it's about 6:05. As people join, we'll let them in. We're gonna kind of start to get rocking here. So we wanted to put some sort of program together today where we can celebrate Juneteenth and also celebrate fathers on Father Day, to start a Father's Day weekend. So we have a couple of really strong speakers. Dr. Aaron Johnson, which, by the way, when I read his bio, I can't even remember how many certifications or degrees that this man has. So he can elaborate on some of that for himself. But what I do remember very, very much about Aaron is I've never seen someone throw a basketball off a backboard with a block shot the way Aaron did. And I'm talking about, it was thunderous and it was ferocious and it was all the time. So I believe one year, maybe his junior year at Southern Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken, he led the nation in block shots at Southern Connecticut. So that's forever ingrained in my mind. You're definitely the best shot blocker that I've ever seen play, Mr. Johnson. So in addition to some of his basketball exploits, he's also a social studies teacher at Bayshore High School, and he has his own organization called Elevated Leadership Perspectives. And it's about social justice, activism, child advocacy, and just education in general. So I thought it fitting to have Aaron come on and kind of give us a good, understanding of first his organization, why he's so passionate about his organization, and then just kind of, let us know his passion and his initiative for starting Elevated Leadership Perspective and having such a great cause, which is obviously very vital and important to the times that we're currently in. And what better day to have the conversation than on Juneteenth? So without further ado, Dr. Johnson, floor is yours.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? On the call, I'm glad. I appreciate Mr. Smith inviting me. I'm always wanting and willing to speak when it's about what we need to be doing right in our communities. I'm not going to bore you with my my biography, but I will just say that what inspires me really is just our children having equitable spaces. And at the end of the day, equity, the concept of equity has become like a bad word because there are people in our country that believe if you provide for someone else, you're taking away from me. And the word equality, we've been kind of conned into repeating that over and over and over. But when you steal from people, when you take from people, you cannot apologize or fix that by bringing forth equality. That's inappropriate. It's more about equity. What I have to pour into you as much as I need to pour into you in order to bring you up to where I am. So obviously we know Black people in America have been raped, tortured, murdered, oppressed stolen from, and enslaved here for the better part of our existence here with Europeans. And at the end of the day, we've never been repaired for that. Reparations has never been a true conversation. We've had lip service. We've had people talk about initiating a study of it. But we never really had anyone really kind of let's hash this out. We have a lot of people who have written about it. We have a lot of folks who are passionate about it, but legislation has never come. So in any space of my life, I just try to bring forth the concept of equity, you know. So if I'm doing professional developments, if I'm doing guest lecturing in my one of my former colleges, if I'm talking to my students who are young and they're growing and they're learning, I'm trying to kind of give them this social justice consciousness, because that's also, those two words are also bad words in our society. People don't like to talk about social justice. They've kind of mocked it. So as a young person, I was in foster care, as Divine knows. And my mother, Earlene Johnson, I always call her my savior. She's the one who saved me. She's the one who made me believe that I can be and do anything that I want.
She's an amazing woman. She was an amazing woman.
She was a phenomenal woman. She had the right mix of strength and love. She can hug you, and her smile is infectious, but she can punch you in the face. She was a tough woman. She will let you know you couldn't get over on her. And she always taught me, you know, to always fight for righteousness, always fight for what's right. And so I've always been in a mindset of wanting to be an educator or an attorney. That was my other, you know, in my mind, I thought I was going to be an attorney at one point. Then I dropped that dream because I didn't want to spend so many years in school. This is when I was young and dumb, because I've had 13, 14 years of post-high school education. So I could have been an attorney a decade ago. But once I decided to become an educator, I really wanted to be a person in a classroom that I've never seen. And all of the 5 universities that I graduated from, I've had one Black male professor. He taught U.S. history, one of my U.S. history courses, in my first university at Southern Connecticut. And every other one, I've had a few Black females, but I didn't have a Black male. So I've always wanted to kind of model what I wish I would have had. And so my students that get a chance to interact with me, they see a guy who played ball, who's tall, who dresses differently. I dress differently than my colleagues. I have a little swag. It's an old school term to me with my kids, because I want them to understand that you can be accomplished, you can be intelligent, you do not have to be tight and crazy and, you know, and corny. So I just try to inspire them to be the best that they can possibly be at all times, and to always be on the right side of history. And right now, during this historic time that we're in, we have to be very, very, very careful of how we approach it and proceed. Right now, there's a lot of symbolism, and there is a lot of people are doing performative acts of solidarity with Black people. Black people don't need hand-holding. Black people don't need hugging. Black people don't need kneeling. Black people need policy, law, to be engineered into our society so that it becomes cultural, so that it could be normalized, so that, because we can't legislate the heart. We already know that that's not a thing. But if we need to normalize what needs to be done, normalize righteousness, normalize goodness, because we've never done it. And so that's, at this particular moment, my message is, whenever I'm speaking, whether I'm doing professional developments or whatever, anytime that I speak, if I'm doing an IG live, I'm really talking about the code that we need to adopt in order for us to be successful in this country right now. And that's kind of just, that's me. I mean, I could talk all day. I could talk about Juneteenth. I could talk about anything that we engage in, but that's just kind of me, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I would like to talk about Juneteenth. And I think the first thing I would say about it is our president decided that he was going to attempt to have a rally today in Tulsa, Oklahoma, of all places, you know. So, like, you know, I like to know, like, your feeling on some of that stuff, because you talked about policy, you know, and right. I think that that's a big part of it.
I would like to be clear. let's be a little bit more clear. Donald Trump, our current president, is not intelligent enough to actually engineer the disrespect that is him scheduling a rally in Tulsa on Juneteenth. I don't think he's well read enough. I don't think he understands history enough. I think he's craven. He's depraved. I think that most of the people who support that depravity, they will make excuses all day long. Now, once it was put before him that this is kind of not the best day to do it or the best place to do it on that day, at least he changed the date to what, Saturday or something like that. He's going to do it tomorrow or whatever. But he even if he did know, which I don't think he did, he doesn't read. He doesn't know anything. He's just a depraved individual. I think even if he did know, what should we expect from him? I don't think that we should spend time even thinking about what he believes, what he knows. He has no ideology. He has no thoughts. He's a narcissist. He's a sociopath. So my thing is like this. It wouldn't surprise me if he put on a rally on a Native American burial ground. It wouldn't surprise me if he did a rally at an African American burial ground. That wouldn't surprise me. I would expect him to go where the most hallowed ground that other people, not white people, but other people claim. I can expect him to go there and bulldoze somebody's cemetery to put up his platform so he could speak. I expect the most heinous, the most barbaric, the most depraved, the most hateful thing possible from him. So instead of us constantly reacting to the nonsense that is him, the evil that is him, I think we need to just actually stay on point about challenging our current status here, challenging the policies here, challenging our local officials to do right and do better by it. That's all I care about. My thing is, he's more symbolism than he is substance. And what happens is him inspiring white supremacists across this country is the thing I most worry about, because I have black boys. But other than that, he won't change me. I happen to be a black male and who grew up in difficult circumstances, but who has actually made something of himself. So I have a certain privilege because of the salary that I make. I have a certain privilege because of certain things that I've achieved here. Not, and it's wiped out in other circles, obviously, as a black male and hyper-visible black male, but he won't change me. He can't do anything. All he can do is inspire these lunatics that have been conditioned in America, because we all are impacted by white supremacist ideology. All of us have, just differently. I think Toni Morrison said that white supremacy or white American racism has had a deleterious effect on all of us, but just differently. So that unnerves me, and I don't want him in the seat of power for that reason, because I care about my boys and I care about these young black and brown folks coming up. But in terms of him being the imbecile that he is an embarrassment. He's an international embarrassment. And he the only thing that I have a fear of, he can get us into some war. He can continue to ruin the economy. His policies can kind of do more damage if they allow him to put his hands on the steering wheel. Because they've been keeping him away. Let him do his culture war. I don't care. But there's just a whole bunch of white supremacists are gonna have to either change or die before things change in America. But this is a part of our consciousness. This is a part of what America is. Make no mistake about it. No doubt about it. That's why we all celebrate it for July.
The reality is, he does have us in a war. The war is just called differently. It's called a coronavirus. Okay, it's just a different war, but it's a war. That's the reason why we have so many people who are dead right now. So much more than the rest of the world, because he's such a. I don't even call him president. I won't give him that title. I either call him Mr. Idiot, Agent Orange, or Captain Obvious. I'm sorry. I'm just not gonna give him that title. Because it's just hard for me to believe. But I don't blame Donald, because Donald's always been Donald. I actually blame the people who voted for him. Okay, like, how could you vote for a man like that? Because regardless of what your religion is, what your politics are, you gotta care about the country. So to vote for that man and to put that man in office, I can't believe it. That many people. And another thing I can't believe is that when they say 92% of blacks for Biden. You know what my attitude is? Well, who the hell is the 8% that's voting for Donald? That's really my attitude, through all of that here. Donald's Donald. He's never changed. Okay? It's the stupid people that voted for him, to me, I'm more upset with. Okay? They don't want to put us in this situation. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just felt that.
No, that's fine. That's not a problem. I was just gonna allow everyone to. So we have 27 participants in the room right now. I would definitely like to allow everyone to at least speak for a few minutes to introduce themselves, but I also have two more really good speakers that we need to get to. So we're gonna try to find a way to balance between the two. So if there should be a feature on your screen where you can raise your hand, and this way I'll know if you have a question, and I can unmute you at that time for the sake of background noise as well. So as we go through this, I'm going to have a couple people introduce themselves. Gary, since you had that last response, can you introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure. I'm Gary Charles. What do you want me to say? Just a little background?
No, just a little background about yourself. That's it.
I worked on Wall Street for over 20 years. Also, I ran a basketball program called the Long Island Panthers / New York Panthers, in which we produced over 200, probably closer to 300 Division I players, but also 20 pros out of it. I also helped Kobe Bryant get his first shoe deal with Adidas, and I was camp director at ABCD camp, in which all the top players across America went through, including the LeBron James, and the Kobe Bryant, and so on. So I was just voted. I'll let you say that part, because I don't want people to think I'm bragging. But like I tell people sometimes, you're not always bragging if you're just giving out facts. Okay.
No, top 100 influential coaches in the country. That's a big deal. Or basically in basketball, that's a big deal. That's quite an honor to see you on there and be able to read that article. That definitely says a lot about your reach and where you've been in the game of basketball. I'll tell you this though, and I tell Gary this story a lot. I remember when I was coaching Gary's 16 and under AAU team with the New York Panthers, and I drove Gary's car back from Philly to New York from the tournament. And yet, when I tell you that for 3 hours, his phone rang literally consecutively, one college basketball coach after another for 3 hours. It was the most phenomenal thing that I've ever seen. I could never forget that day. So it's pretty impressive. So I appreciate you, Gary. You're one of my mentors. So all the young people that I mentor, when they come in and we speak and we have conversations, I'm very mindful of the opportunities that you afforded a lot of young Black men, and that we've been able to take that and move forward with. So my favorite person who I love having to speak, Christian, I'm going to take him off mute and let him have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Happy
Christian.
Juneteenth. For the first brother who spoke, that was well said, well articulated. Only thing I want to say, Divine, about Juneteenth is that, for Black people in America, Juneteenth is, an Independence Day. And it's not a national holiday. It's not celebrated on the same level of July 4th. And I think that needs to change. And also the fact that it's not taught in school, because I never learned that as a kid. I learned that as an adult. No one taught me that. And the fact that in this country that Black history is not American history, and the whole idea of Black History Month, like, it rubs me the wrong way, and I think that there needs to be a major change and shift in education reform as well. The first brother who spoke was talking about policy, and he's exactly right. We don't need white people to take knees with us. We don't need them to hug us. we need policy change. And I also think that one of those changes have to be, you know, education reform and what's taught, you know, in this country.
Yep, I agree. Let me get Coach Ira.
How you
Coach.
doing?
Hey,
This is
how's
Coach
it
Ira.
going?
Good, good. Ira Hunt. I've been coaching at St. Mary's for a number of years, but I've been coaching on the grassroots for many, many more years. But coaching is one thing. I try to enlighten young men into understanding where their future needs to lie, and that's in education. But the vehicle was basketball. You know, that's the vehicle I use. I grew up in tough environment in Brownsville, Brooklyn. I grew up playing in the BRC. I played for one of the toughest coaches ever, Gil Reynolds. And I actually went to Laurinburg. And from there, I learned a lot. I learned, you know, because I was just in the neighborhood. You know, I saw, and that's the problem now. You know, like we take kids on excursions, we take them away, we take them AAU, but there's times where we need to sit them down, and I always did this. And Charles played for me, Siobhan and Dante and my son, and the list goes on. Marquise Moore, the list goes on. And they'll tell you there are times where we just sat down and talked, and I listened to them. But on the court, I didn't listen too much. I'll be honest with you, because there's one way, and that was the hard way. You go hard, or you don't line up. You don't tie up the strings. Just sit on the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know, when Gary was saying about voting, who voted him in, the problem is that we didn't show up in droves to, you know, like to vote. There are people that didn't vote. That's the issue. And I was in Brooklyn today. I was on Eastern Parkway. I'm always over there. And they have a movement, Black Lives Matter, walking down Eastern Parkway. And I look in the crowd and I see, and that's why the issue is, you know, coming to the forefront, because there were more white kids out there than black kids. You know, if I go on my block right now where I grew up at, they were all lined up doing whatever. So that's the thing. We have to educate, and not just in the school setting. We have to sit down. Basketball is just a vehicle. That's what got me there. That's what got me going to places I went, because I didn't have money to go on vacation and all of that. So guess what? I was able to move around. I was able, you know, to see different. I went to Oak Hill Academy. We played Oak Hill Academy. I've never been to West Virginia before, you know, and we went there and we played, and I was in amazement of the, you know, I mean, they had the top talent, of course, but we played them well. But just education, man, you know, not just through the books. Just like everybody's homeschooling now. You know what? There is no school now. So how are the kids learning? The parents are doing a better job. They're seeing how difficult it is.
Very difficult.
Have them in their grasp all day long.
Yep.
You know, homeschooling, you know, you had a lot of people that homeschooled. And now they finally see what teachers have to deal with. You know, how long of a attention span that the kids have today. You know, what coaches have to deal with, the attention span. You know, trying to teach a play, trying to run a play. When I coach the grassroots, I made them listen. I taught them. And there's not a lot of teaching. There's a lot of emphasis on win. You know, yeah, I want to win, but at what cost? There's a cost to everything.
That's a fact.
And if you don't recognize that cost, then we're going to lose. We're going to lose so many generations. We're going to, you know, it's systemic. You know, if you look at the platform of people, it keeps going over and over again, generations. So I think that's one of the things that we have to think about most, and that's understanding where we have to educate our kids and educate them, not just in school, but outside, while they're in the dining room, while they're in the kitchen, while they outside. And it's not just one person. It's everybody. You know, they're like, when I'll say this and I'll end. When I did run my grassroots program, we didn't have sponsorship. We had parents that got together, Charles McCann's mom, his dad, and there were other parents, and we said, this is how much the tournament costs. This is what we're going to get. We're going to get sneakers. This is donation. $100 a person. And we did it. You know, so it can be done. It could be done. Thank you.
Yep. We appreciate you, Coach. And like I said, I saw your teams play. I saw your freshman team, your JV team, and your varsity team play as well. I can definitely see that exactly what you're speaking is what you embody. I think it's important to not be able to only talk the talk, but to also back it up with your actions. And clearly, you're someone who backs it up with your actions, and that's where real respect comes. So we appreciate you for that. So I'm gonna have one more person speak here before I introduce our next speaker, Coach Womack. What's going on, my brother? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Hello?
What's up, Coach?
Hold on. No. Hold on a second, guys. Womack?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right, cool.
So,
Sorry,
so I know that, you know, obviously you work, you know, at St. Francis in Brooklyn, coaching college basketball there, and you also played there at St. Francis. And I know you and I spoke recently just about some of what we're dealing with right now with, you know, COVID-19 and the injustice, and I really want you to be able to speak about some of your experiences as a player, some of your experiences as a coach, and some of your feelings on what our current state of affairs look like. So,
first off, you know, thank you for having this. It was great. I think a couple weeks back, it was very inspiring to hear, you know, from so many men and hear their stories and just come together, you know, as brothers, because, you know, we do need to vent. And that's one thing I tell people: don't say it's okay. You know, I learned that the hard way, but when things started going off, it's okay to say I'm not okay. You know, it's okay to tell your brother, I need you, I need to talk to you, I need your ear, I just need to vent to you to let you know what's going on. And I appreciate that. So thank you for setting this up first and foremost. In regards to, you know, what I've been dealing with, you know, coaching college basketball, you know, we got 13 of our 15 players are Black. I say about 12 of them come from underprivileged situations. 12 of those players. When my players have to play for a school, you know, represent an institution, but not be guided in the terms of who they are as young Black men, when things like this happen, it's a culture shock for them. And we have to understand that as much as these coaches care about our players, or they say they care about our players and they recruit our players, at the end of the day, a lot of these young men are coming from homes where they have no father. They're coming from homes where they don't have a mother who has had the time to really teach them how to become a man. You know, they don't have coaches that we have on this forum that are respected, that really care about their youth. So when they get to 19, 20, 21 years old, they're confused as to what's going on in the world or what they can expect after they graduate and what the real world is. And it was a big culture shock because for the first time, there were no distractions from what was on our TV. There were no distractions. There were no practices to go to. There was no March Madness tournament. There was no TV to watch a sporting event. The NBA was done. Everyone had to come face to face with what's happening. And it was a perfect time to show, you know, some people who work at my school what we've been dealing with and what we need to do moving forward. And the brother who talked first, he said exactly what I've been thinking. For some people don't know, I'm a political science major. I study political science and I study history in college at St. Francis. So, you know, understanding politics, understand the system is kind of what I was taught. And I think it was Coach Ira, you mentioned we're not out there voting. Well, the first thing that needs to be done is we have to change the voting laws, the gerrymandering, the very landscape of how our voting actually happens is rigged, so we're not successful. It's rigged that even if we came out in droves and we voted in our certain cities, in our certain states, the electoral college is set up that it's still going to be tough for us to have a majority in there. That's how it was set up. It was set up for this exact reason, so that the people who have been in charge since our United States was created remain in charge. So that's why this movement is so important. That's why I've made it my, you know, mission is no longer just to win. It's never been just to win basketball games, but I promised myself I'm not going to stop in 2-3 weeks. I'm not going to stop when the season comes. I'm not going to stop in conference play. I'm going to continue to educate our kids, to educate anyone, educate myself as well as I go through this process, because, you know, the first thing you have to do is educate yourself so you can know what you're talking about when you talk to our next generation, because you have to back up whatever you're saying to teach them. But this can't end. This can't be the last. In 3 weeks, we can't go back to business as usual.
I agree.
You know,
this is business as usual. This is business as usual.
And that's exactly where I stand. So I've been, you know, for the last couple of weeks, I've been in constant meetings, like with our president, with our athletic director, with the head coach of St. Francis, on just finding out ways where we can start. You know, you have to start with what you can do. So if for me, it's St. Francis, that's where I'm going to start. I can't make a big protest in Brooklyn or in New York City because I don't have that kind of capacity yet. So I'm going to start where I can start. And I feel like if we all start with home, whether it's your sons, your daughters, your teams, you know, your wives, your uncles, anybody, you start at home, and we got to build it out and just work together. So, you know, that's been my mindset for the last couple of weeks. It's been stressful, but like I said, having brothers like Devon, brothers like Christian that I talk to as well, brothers keeping me, you know, just keeping me grounded and keeping me motivated. You know, I'm focused on to keep this movement going.
Yeah, man, that's what's up. I think Christian wants to add to that.
I actually wasn't. I'm in the kitchen cooking.
Uh-oh. You raised your hand, brother. Now put yourself back.
I'm clapping.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
applauding, Devon.
Okay, so we're gonna have our next speaker come up now. It's a good friend of mine. We have been friends since 8th grade. We played high school basketball together. He went on to become the second all-time leading scorer at Southern Connecticut State University, and also played in Elite Eight his junior year. But more importantly, he is someone who, like I said before, what he speaks out of his mouth, he always backs it up with his actions. It's always positive. It's always about the community and others and the betterment, moving forward, being positive. So without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to my brother, Jared Lewis.
First, let me say thank you, Devon. Just an honor and joy to be with you and this host of just wonderful men. I want to congratulate you, number first, you're my brother, but congratulate you from this perspective to bring together people at this time speaks highly of you. And I want to commend you and encourage you to keep going forward because it is definitely needed in this Kairos moment, not a chronological moment. And so we understand the importance of this time. Happy Father's Day to everyone. I want to thank you for just coming together, and I want to salute our senior fathers, Dan Petaway, Coach Powell, to all the ones who have paved the way for me. Certainly, thank you so much. And even Coach Gary Charles, what a great example. I'm so encouraged to hear and continue to hear what he's saying at this time, this hour. These are people, I would not be where I am without them. So I understand that. I'm a pastor, as Devon stated, and so I've been in several meetings over the last 3 weeks. I've had early days and late nights. Last night I was on a call at 10 o'clock last night, organizing National Action Network March on Washington. So I've been doing clergy association meetings, meeting with the county executive, meeting with the district attorneys regarding police brutality. And there's so many things that I could talk about. But as Divine spoke to, I want to speak from the perspective of a father. Is that okay, just for a few moments? And
yeah, just 1 second. So your audio is a little choppy as you speak.
Yeah, it doesn't
Sounds
sound
like,
like I can't really hear you.
yeah. So we might have to like check your audio so we can make sure everyone can hear you.
Let me jump out. Divine, you go ahead. I'll jump out and jump back.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, just
fine.
leave and join back.
Yep. That's a good idea. James St. Roberts. James, what time is it in Switzerland?
What time it is? It's like 12:40 in the morning.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. You here? You riding for the cause? That's what I'm talking about. What's going on?
I told you, man. I told you it was gonna be a late night for me. So.
Oh, you know, I gotta unmute your teammates. I gotta unmute Gary Charles because I see the smile on Gary's face. I gotta unmute both of your teammates, so we understand what's going on here.
It's great to see you, James.
Oh man, nice to hear from you, CB.
Long time, brother.
I like that.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Devon, thank you very much for the reunion here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. I don't even know how you connected with these guys, Devon.
It's years. You know what that is? That's years and years and years and years of being connected. That's what it is.
That's crazy.
That's all it is. You find good people. You find good people, you keep them. You find good people, you keep them.
You guys don't even know, man. It's like you got Aaron on the call. Aaron was the guy who was like training me when I was in high school. When I was like in 9th, 10th grade. I was working out with him in front of his garage. Working on my post moves. And now, I'm on the call with all you guys and my college teammates and everything like this all together. So that's like, for me, something kind of special.
Nah, it's nice having you on. You're one of my favorites. I always tell a story about you hunting me down in the hallways of Kopek High School as a freshman. I want to play. I want to play. I want to play. I want to play. I was like, okay. So I gave you to Gary Charles.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was my first experience playing AAU ball. With the Panthers. Going out in the city on the weekends for practices and summertime, doing all these type of trips with the guys. So that for me, that was a really cool experience.
Yeah, man.
And for sure, without that, I'm telling you, I would not be in my situation right now. You know what I mean? Family, I have 3 kids now, family man, married, everyone's doing well, and basketball paved the way. I'm telling you, Gary Charles, man, you played a big part in my life, really.
Yeah.
It's funny how like all these little things connect and kind of bring you to where you're at right now.
Yep. So, okay,
Crazy.
Do we have our speaker back?
Hold on, Devon.
Yes.
My phone, my headset dropped out. Did James talk about when we were roommates? When it
So
dropped off?
I was hoping that somebody was gonna
Come
pile on.
James.
Go
Y'all
for it.
Yo,
Go for it.
that's my
Listen,
roommate.
James, me and James went to college at St. Francis for 2 years together. That was my first roommate, man. He's seriously, man, you a great dude. I could tell I before I even knew Devon, when he told me he was one of your mentors, and then I met Devon, it was just plain as day, because good people mesh with good people. And since 18, I don't know a lot of 18-year-olds that was as mature as you, and you just is a great person. I think if you weren't my roommate, I don't know what I would have did in college for the first 2 years, man. So thanks, man.
Nah, it's
Yeah,
born,
you're
man.
good. You're definitely a good one, James. Remember, I know you from freshman year of high school. So
Freshman year, yeah, man.
So I know your progression from there. Like you and I, we've had a lot of car rides where we've had like some intimate conversations about life.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So like kudos to you, man. I commend you for being married with 3 kids and staying over in Switzerland. You know, away from home, away from your parents and your sisters. You know.
Yeah, you know, it's like one of them situations, you know, being away from home, you know, you kind of miss your family, you know, my sisters and my parents, you know. It's funny because now we talk more now that we're like away. Now, you know, I'm away, but it's the same. Like, I feel like I'm more connected with the issues going on in the States because I'm telling you, over here, it is like on TV 24/7, you know what I mean? Anything that happens in the States is on the nightly news, is on the newspapers, it's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it, you know what I mean? And being an American, they know that you're American. So for sure, they come into you with questions and everything like this. So you definitely stand out, you know? So, and not to mention, there's a huge, very huge population of expats living in Europe, you know? The amount of expats living out here is bigger than most the population of most states. So there's really a lot of people. There's a lot of representation, you know, of expats living in Switzerland, in Europe, in Germany, Spain, all over. You know what I mean? So it's like you're in the States, but you're not. You know what I mean? So I'm well aware of what's going on, really in tune, and you know, there's people out here having like marches, protesting, you know, doing what they can just to kind of, you know, make some noise out here, you know, for the cause, you know.
Yep. All right, so I want to break up some of this male testosterone. I got to get Gwen on here. Miss McCann, I need some strong words. You know what I'm saying? I need some strong words from you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Charles must have taught you how to use the audio and video. So, yep, I'll blame Charles for that. Not you, Dad. Don't worry about it. We'll blame Charles. Yep.
Well, as a Black female, I cry every day because I think of my own children. It's hard. For a woman, it's really, really hard. But I am so proud of all of y'all that spoke. And like Coach Ira said, Charles has been in Coach Ira's life for a long time. And he was a big positive. Sometimes I don't even know how much to thank Ira because he really helped us with Charles. We stayed out the way. We let him coach. We let him talk to him, everything. Anytime go ask your coach. Don't ask us anything. But what's going on today is really unnerving, especially for a Black female woman. Because even though Charles don't live with me, our other sons don't live with us, and I worry all the time. It's very scary. Sometimes I just want to call them at 1 o'clock in the morning. Are you okay? So it's hard. It's very hard. But what the social studies teacher said about Trump, I just said those same words to somebody. He's too ignorant to even know what today is. Today is just another day for him. He's ignorant.
Today's just another day for him.
Right, and he made a good point. Trump can't make you who you are. You have to be who you are. Okay, and we're strong Black people. Black people are very strong. Look at the women. Y'all got strong women in your lives.
I know I do.
Yes, you all do. We all came from strong women, trust me. So, but prayer. I pray all the time. Sometimes I just sit here. Rich think I'm watching TV and I'm praying. Because it has to be an answer somewhere. And I know there is, because I believe in God.
Yep.
Before I end, Jada Pinkett Smith had, I can't even think of the woman's name, but at her red table, it's
Jane Elliott.
Yes. And she spoke the same words that my pastor spoke. My pastor is Bishop Andy C. Luda. He spoke the same words. She spoke the same words that he did. They only lighter than us because they came from a different continent. They're all Black, and they don't even realize that. They separated into different tribes and went to different parts of the world. That's why they're lighter and we're darker. But we're all Black because Jesus was bronze with nappy hair, and they need to recognize. I'm done.
So it's funny that you talk about Coach Hunt and Charles's relationship. So I'm in practice, Ira, one day, and I think it's Charles. I want to say it's his senior year. Yes, it's his senior year, and like Charles he's like running the floor like it's a game. Like he's like in full game mode, rebounding out of area. And I'm standing on the sideline, and I'm thinking to myself, I've been at a lot of basketball practices. I don't think that I've ever seen this happen before. It was unbelievable. And so I understand. Once I saw you coach, Ira, I truly understood how that man ended up like that. And I thank you, because he and we work very well together. So we work very well together. Do we have our speaker back? Let me see. I don't know. I don't think so. But you know what? We're gonna go to our second speaker, to our third speaker, Coach Powell. I'm gonna unmute you. Uh-oh. Gotta learn to use that unmute.
All right, here we go.
There we go. We got you now. We got you now. Don't worry. I got the same glasses on. So I just spend a little more time. I spend a little more time on Zoom. So.
Yours probably more expensive than mine, though.
Maybe. So how was today's events?
Today's event, I'm not sure. I wasn't able to make it. We had a situation at my house today where the police had to come, ambulance was here. A friend of ours' mother was here, and I don't know if she had a stroke or she had a seizure. But again, we had the police, we had the ambulance, and hopefully she's doing okay. She's in the hospital now. They run a lot of tests on her.
We will definitely pray for her. We will definitely pray for her.
Yeah, so I'm hoping she's going to be okay. The police were here, but I did have some signs on my vehicle. I had privilege is learning about racism versus experiencing it. And I also had on it another slogan that, let us breathe. So when they walked by the vehicle, I'm sure they saw that. So in my mind, I was saying, I'm glad it wasn't me that they had to take, because I don't know how long it's going to take. It was taking them to get me to the hospital. But, it's an unfortunate situation what we're going through. Hopefully things will get better. I think the more that we stay together, the more that we protest together, the more we're out there showing that we are united, okay? That we're not at each other's throats, that we're not trying to hurt each other. We're there to help each other and be there for each other. I think things will change. I guess I was supposed to talk about.
Well, hold on a second. Let me give you a proper introduction.
Okay, all right, there you go.
So I like the fact that we got right into that, though. I was all in. So, so Coach Rob Powell was one of the coaches when I played for Gary Charles with the Panthers. But just to show you how small the world actually is, and I'm gonna unmute my father-in-law right now as well. So Coach Powell actually grew up in the house next door to the house that Vanessa grew up in, my wife. So I pull up over to go and visit Vanessa one day, and I see him sitting out in his car in front of the house in front of us. So there's some more personal ties there as well with my wife's family and Coach Powell. But one of the things that I appreciate the most about Coach Powell is I've been coaching basketball for quite some time. And I started coaching basketball in maybe like around 2000. And obviously I played prior to coaching. So I've been involved with basketball for a good part of 30 years. And I remember practice where Coach Powell was just constantly giving me positive enforcement about what I was doing out there on the basketball court. And that helped me to pick up the speed of the game and just go out there and just play. So I can understand how he can have 7 children who have all graduated college. I can really understand how that can happen, how you can bat 1,000 with that. But I also, like I said, have been involved with basketball for 30 years. So I know the time commitment to basketball. I don't care if you're making $700,000 a year or $5, for gas. Like you in order to coach, you have to spend time away from your own family. And for you to coach for as long as you have, and for you to also have been such a strong advocate in your community, once again, like what you talk is what you back up with your action. And I just think that why experience it for the first time if you're a younger man who's kind of doing some of the same things that you were doing, whether that's in the arena of basketball or in another arena? Why not hear, some of, your story and things that are important to you and the message that you're providing to not only your own children, but to the children in the community or to other young men in the community. Like how do you do that at such a consistent, level, the way you have?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that come into play. One,
I can't hear Coach Devine,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Coach.
Okay. I think a couple of things came into play. I think the first thing, I was blessed. I was absolutely, truly blessed. Again, I don't know why, but I was. And the second thing, I think I was just lucky. Again, I don't know if I did anything that other fathers don't do and other parents don't do. I think it's difficult. It's extremely difficult when you're coaching, okay, or you're mentoring, because when you're a coach, you're not just coach. You're a father, you're a mentor, your big brother, your cousin, you're everything they need in order to succeed. That's what you become. And again, as a father of 7, my kids and I missed a lot of things. Okay, there was a lot of sports events where they had, but I wasn't there. Okay, I was helping another kid or coaching, and at one point, my kids used to joke, halfway joking, serious, saying that I helped every kid except if your last name was Powell. Okay, and so that, that stuck with me, that I was out there helping everybody. But it was difficult because, again, to me, these kids needed it more. Again, I knew my kids was going to be okay. I was going to be back for them. I was going to do all the fatherly things you have to do. Okay. But at times it was difficult. Dad, what happened? How come he wasn't there? Okay, and then I have to try to explain, yes, I know I missed this, but I'll be there for the next one. I promise. I'll work out my schedule. Because not only was I coaching, I was also an athletic director at a Boys and Girls Club. Before that, I was a youth development coordinator at the Boys and Girls Club. All right, so my work hours was 2 to 10. Okay, so I had to kind of arrange everything around my work hours and my coaching and trying to be there for my kids. As they got older, they understood it even more. They said, okay, Dad, I see you had to be out there helping these kids. Okay, you had to do what you had to do for them. Okay, in order for you to make sure that they could be as successful or help them become as successful as they can be. And again, it just, as a coach, it never stops. All right, I coach girls basketball right now. I'm working with a mother who just got out of prison. Okay, she has custody of her daughter right now. Okay, I'm calling the daughter, I'm calling her every single day. We keep in contact. And I'm telling her, I'm saying that, again, her name is Nicole. I'm saying, Nicole, okay, you cannot mess up. You can't do the things you were doing before. You got your daughter who was, again, Autumn is a very good basketball player. She was in 8th grade this year. She played for me. I started her on the varsity basketball team. She was my most valuable player. She's about 6 feet tall, and she loves the game. All right, so again, she's a very good young lady also. She's gone through a lot because her mother has been away. She's been living with her grandparents. And she's trying to take care of her little brother and sister at the same time because, again, she had to become the mother. All right. But I'm getting back to it, again, as a coach, again, I'm still got to be involved with that situation and making sure she's okay, that she's going to stay focused. Okay. And I told her, her name is Autumn. I said, Autumn, okay, the minute your mother strays, I got to be the first phone call. You got to call me first. Okay, so I can get there and help her get back on track. Getting back to my kids, okay, like I said, it was tough. It was tough. It's a good thing that, again, it wasn't just me. It was their teachers. It was their mother. It was their siblings. They all kind of stayed on top of each other to make sure each other were doing well. Again, once the first one graduate from college, second one knew they had to do it. Okay, it wasn't like, it was a normal progression. It's just like you go from elementary school to middle school to high school to college. It was just a progression in our family. That's what you did. You didn't even think that you wasn't going to do that. So like it's been a terrific journey. At this point now, before we had the pandemic, I was watching my grandchild, one of my older daughters, daughter, because she's a teacher. So she would drop her off in the morning, every morning at 7 o'clock. Okay, I have her all day long until she came home from school. Okay, now I have even more time to be the parent, the grandparent that, again, because of the situation, it kind of prevented me from doing everything that I could possibly do. Again, there was that, and also, again, as you get older and you see more things, I was elected to the school board. So for 6 years, I was on the school board. All right. So again, there's another way of me, again, trying to help that next generation coming up, trying to guide them, trying to give them all the tools and all the things they need to be successful. I feel like I've been blessed. I've been lucky. I've been around some great people. Like I said, everybody talks about Gary Charles, but I was there when Gary Charles got started. You know, I lived right around the corner from him. We went to the same high school. We played ball together in my backyard. We would go down to the park and play ball. When he started off coaching PAL, Roosevelt PAL. Okay, that's where he first started. He took over that program and was working with those kids. And then got me involved with the Lupus basketball game. That was a high school basketball game against Nassau and Suffolk counties to play at Sable High School every year. I saw the first guy I saw was Derek Brown. I said, Gary, this kid Derek Brown, he's great. You got to get him to play for the Panthers. And of course, you know, once someone talks to Gary, that's it. That's it. So I gave Derek was our first, again, Division I player. Went on playing at St. John's and had a great career. And then after that, we just took off.
Hey, Rob, let me say something about you, Rob. So, you know, Rob was a great basketball player. He really was phenomenal. And Rob coached me also. So, you know, Rob's a little older than me, all right?
Yeah, you want to throw that in there.
Yeah, I want to make sure I throw that in there. But Rob used to come and pick us up and take us around to go play in tournaments and different things like that. And one of my biggest experiences, he took us to, was the jailhouse somewhere.
Sing Sing.
Sing Sing. I was, you know, you think you got swag, right? And you're not scared of anything. Well, I was scared as hell when I walked in that gym. and I remember, you know, playing. I thought I was pretty good, you know, ball player. I was quick. And I remember hitting the guy accidentally. And I must have apologized to that guy 10 goddamn times before we even got down court. Because I want to make sure that guy didn't come and swing back at me. But those are the experiences I remember Rob always being there for us. And he was part of the reason why I think I joined the PAL. It was because I remember it was people like Rob who was there for us. So how could I turn around and not do the same? So I just want to make sure people are aware just how far back, you know, Rob goes. And he's right. We did go to the same high school. We actually transferred from Roosevelt and went to this particular school. They allowed you to take a test, and if you passed the test, you were able to go there. I don't know what you went for, Rob, but mine was mechanical engineering. There was 3 different programs that you could go for. That's what mine was. And Rob, I don't know, you might have been the first class of generation of Black kids who left Roosevelt and went to Trustful Clark, because Trustful Clark was like 98% white.
Yeah, we were
first class?
Second class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll remember that. But go ahead, Rob. I just want to do a little history about you.
Yeah, and like I said, kids, you know, again, my kids were, again, I was blessed. Again, never really had to beat them, punish them. It wasn't like that. We had conversations. Again, they messed up. They made mistakes. No question about it. But we always had conversations. We talk about it. Did they drink in high school? Absolutely. Absolutely. They were drinking in high school. They were, you know, they were doing things that
high school kids do.
Kids do. Okay. But they would always say, Dad, can you give me a ride? Dad, can you pick me up? Okay. They was going to make sure that they wasn't going to be behind the wheel of a car, and they wasn't going to go with anybody who was drinking. So they'd always call me, and I said, you know, anytime, give me a call. You know, and it's also what's the honesty bit. Again, I talk to them all the time. I said, just be honest. If you're honest, then we can get through anything. Doesn't matter what it is, we'll get through it. I said, but I don't want to have to try to figure out if you're telling me the truth this time or not. I said, just be honest. And, you know, and for the most part, as far as I know, they were honest. Again, my daughter, when she was in college, 20 years old, okay, her boyfriend, 22 years old, okay, group of girls under 21. They're in the car. They go, they stop at a liquor store. They give her boyfriend money, okay, to buy some liquor. He goes into the liquor store. He buys liquor, comes out, get into the car. They start driving away. Cop pulls them over. Okay, cop pull them over, separates the three of them, and tells my daughter, how much money did you give him? Don't lie to me. You tell me exactly how much money you gave him, because I know you gave him money in order to buy you guys liquor. She told him. She said, again, I gave him $25 to buy me a pint of whatever. They got in trouble. They had to get an appearance ticket. She tells me the story. I'm like, how come you didn't say you didn't give him anything? Why did you have to say you gave him money? You wouldn't have known. Dad, you told me not to lie. I didn't want to lie.
You did tell her not to lie. You did tell her not to lie. So
Yes.
she's got a point. She's got a point.
All right.
Clearly, she took you literally. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's funny. That's good.
Yeah, again, and there's tons of stories where, you know, we had things that, again, but we have discussions about it. We always have discussions at the end of the day. You know, except my daughter, I guess I said last week, was threatened at one point when she was in middle school. Used a clarinet as a bat and a head as a ball. So principal calls me up, tells me what was going on. I go down there to meet with him, and we sit in his office and we're talking, and I asked him, okay, so what happened to the girl? Oh, we suspended her. I said, why did you suspend her? I said, my daughter's gonna be fine. She's gonna be okay. We gotta figure out what made this girl say that.
Right.
Okay, and figure out what's going on in her life and why she's acting the way she's acting. So we got to try to help her. At that point, again, he looked at me like I had two heads because he expected.
Well, I don't know why he's looking at you that way. I'm sure that someone had to do that for him when he was a child, growing up.
He expected me to come in there, you know, saying, you know, I want her suspended, I want her out, I don't want this girl near my daughter anymore. No, that's not. Again, and then we go back, we sit and we talk. We talk about it. We have conversations, constant conversations. And there's another example I have where my daughter, she's you're supposed to stay in school for lunch. But she's a senior now, so she thinks, okay, I can get in my car and leave and go home for lunch. All right, so I'm home. I come home one day and I see her and her friends in the house. I'm like, don't you supposed to be in school? Oh, no. They don't care. They just let us go out for lunch. Okay. A couple of days later, same thing happens. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, they don't care. All right, let me see. I'll see if they don't care. I went up to the school, spoke to the principal, told him my daughter was home for lunch, which she should have been in school. She ended up getting a detention. They were originally going to suspend her, but she only got a detention. I come home, my wife's mad at me, my daughter's mad at me. Everybody's not talking to me because I turned to my daughter. Okay, and again, we have a conversation. You know, Nikki, again, there are rules that you got to follow. Okay, just because again, your dad is on the school board doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want to do. You got to follow the same rules that everyone else follows. All right. So again, like I said in the beginning, I felt blessed. I had some kids who listened that you could talk to, that I didn't have to, like I said, really punish, you know, because I wasn't big on that. I was big on just having a conversation with them, and they were receptive to the conversations. So that's my story.
It's a good story. It's strong. Like batting 1,000 with the college degree, college education, I think is phenomenal. So I know you had talked a little bit on our last Zoom just about some of the universities and some of the professions that some of your children have gotten into. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, I got, the oldest one is psychology. She's a psychologist. She works in Long Beach. Next in line is Deanna. She is a bookkeeper and she works at a pool company out east. The next in line is Kelly. She's got a PhD. She went to Brown and then she went to American University and finished up at Yale. She's working at Yale now. Next is my daughter, Allie. She's got her master's degree. She's a teacher in South Country School District. Next in line is my son, my only son, RL. He's an engineer. He's got his degree from Brown University. And next is, who's next? Nicole. She got her degree from East Carolina University. She'll be going to Boston University for a master's in September. And the youngest is Tara. She's got a degree from St. Joseph's. And she's gonna work for a year before she goes to grad school.
Impressive. And you remembered all of them too. So I know.
Don't ask me birthdays though. Don't ask me birthdays.
I bet. You just got to keep remembering your own birthday. That's all. At this point, all the gifts that you've given out to people, you'll be fine. I'm sure of it. So, well, we appreciate you coming on and telling your story. Like I said,
I know Gary Charles got some college graduates too, but I started before him. He did his, and then I went after him, so I got some.
So, and listen, in a private conversation with you, Gary Charles, and myself, we're gonna have this conversation about Gary Charles and his age, because he's tricked me a couple of times, just so you know, and he knows what I'm talking about too.
Oh man, appreciate it, Bob.
So, all right, so this doesn't happen without the help of the next two gentlemen who are going to speak. So I'm gonna let Kellen Scantlebury go and kind of give some information on himself. I recruited Kellen Scantlebury out of Ward Melville High School, and he played for me for 1 year when I was the assistant coach at CW Post under Tom Galizzi in the 05-06 season. So he was basically my first recruit in college basketball, because Galizzi really wasn't trusting me to bring in players. He just had me there as a player coach because of my age. So I'm gonna let Kellen have the floor here. Kellen, please elaborate a little bit and talk about mind and movement on Saturdays as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for the intro, Divine. Thank you everyone for speaking. Coach Powell, that was a great story to have that many kids. I'm a new father myself of twins. So to hear like your success with your kids is really inspiring. I just want to speak on, first some of the comments that were made. Brother Womack, I 100% feel you with some of the comments that you were making as well. Like this is like something that is awoken in you this time with the culture right now. It's the same for me. So I just wanted to say I fully agree with that. Christian, 100% same thing. Education with Juneteenth. I'm like 32 years old and I didn't even know anything about this, honestly, until like, 2 weeks ago. And for me, like that was crazy. When you say it's like not taught in schools, it's not, that's not what we get taught at Black History Month. And I'd like to say I went to like decent schools, private school, college, and I just was never taught that, and getting it at home, I think is very important. And that's why I really, really, really love these calls, because this is like a nice teaching and learning lesson that we can all take and bring home to the community. Womack said it again. It starts, I'm at St. Francis. I'm starting where I'm at. I own a company. I own a physical therapy office in Manhattan. We also have 2 locations in Brooklyn. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, basketball player with Divine. Like, this is the time. This is the time. I'm starting there. My initiatives, what we're going to be doing, the money we're going to be spending, donating, No, I agree, brother. Brother Gary Charles said this last week as well. You know, sending kids to HBCUs, like I'm totally for that. Like we have to stay on that same page. So I just wanted to first just say I'm totally on board with a lot of those comments. I know Divine was saying to introduce the movement and mindset. So as part of my mission, you know, personally during this time of COVID, I really tried to be more of a mentor to other like men and just people in general. And I realized that more people were looking up to me than I thought. So, and as a physical therapist, I'm usually just helping people with their body. But what I realized is that a lot more people need help with their mind. It's like when we scrape our knee, we know what to do. We put a Band-Aid on and we put back situation on. But if you get like a mental cut or a mental break, we don't really know how to address that. And especially in our community, because, you know, a lot of us are taught to be strong and to stand up tall and, you know, don't show emotion and don't do this and don't do that. You know, I know that's how I was raised in that way, you know, and to deal with the mental side of things, it just wasn't taught. So that's what we do with the movement and mindset is we try to help people, we equip people with the tools to have that like belief mindset, you know, that I am going to do this and I am going to achieve and not to have that, you know, I'm going to fail and these are the reasons why. It's like, you know, I said I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then at the end of each session, we also get a workout in. So typically like AMRAP or EMOM status, 12 minutes on the clock, 15 minutes on the clock, just go for it. And then work our bodies as well. So it's just a positive vibe. And I would love to introduce everyone on this call to it because, you know, I love these sessions, you know, I really do. I learn so much from just listening to everyone speak and trying to soak in things and, you know, share that within my circle, you know, and that's here in New York City, in Brooklyn, and Queens. And, you know, I know a lot of people and I'm telling a lot of people about the Lynch letters now and educating on them. I read them and like how much of that is actually happening today is actually crazy still. You know, and just trying to educate more people and hopefully equip them with tools to fight back and stand up tall. And, you know, it's just like I said, I really feel awakened. And, you know, I remember again, Brother Charles said, you know, I felt like I was the lieutenant when I was at Adidas. And I feel like I'm trying to be like a lieutenant captain now for this mission. And if I can help anyone in this call in any way, let me know because I want to be about that action right now. And to be able to do this, and Divine and I were talking about doing this in my office. But I don't think we could have got all of us together in a room like this.
No.
We could not have. And this is so much more powerful. This is so much more powerful.
It worked out just the way it was supposed to.
Exactly. It's so much more powerful than I ever imagined. And I'm just so happy, like Divine, I'm just so proud of you too as well. And with Charles as well, like just to put things like this together and bring people like this together is really something special. So I want you guys to know that, you know, it's special to me being here and I'm taking this seriously and I'm out here trying to make sure I spread this knowledge that I'm learning from everyone in this room. And I want to just help you guys in the same way that you're helping me. So thank you all for being on here. And yeah, thank you, Divine.
Yep. And so once again, I said it before. What you say and your actions have to align. So you talked about the HBCUs and we had that conversation on one of our previous study group Zooms, and that very same night, because I know this because of the hat that Gary Charles had on, because he doesn't wear the same hat twice the same week, maybe not even the same month. So went on the record and recorded a message talking about Division I college basketball coaches, white, black, the same, and saying how the ones who are not speaking up, mainly the white coaches, are speaking with their silence, and how we need to do a better job of pushing our athletes to HBCUs. And not only to HBCUs, we have Coach Dave Lato on our Zoom. He's the head men's basketball coach at DePaul University. Send them to him. He did a great job with the kid I sent to him. I sent Femi to Coach Lato because I wanted Femi to be a man. If they won basketball games, that was between Coach Lato, Femi, and his team. But you know what? As long as Femi came out on the other side of his time there as a man, I was happy with that. And you know, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. So like, we should be sending, you know about a great player, send an email to Coach Lato. I'm sure he'd take a look.
Send them to Brooklyn. Send them to Brooklyn. Man.
And send him to Womack. I'm sorry, Womack. So Charles McCann, floor is yours, man. Have at it.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I told you taught your mom and your dad how to use the video and the audio.
No, it's my Wi-Fi here, so I had to dial in from my phone, so it's different for me. With everything going on in Queens, the whole Wi-Fi situation is not great. But yeah, I mean, I really don't know what to say. I feel like there's a lot to say. First of all, I do want to thank for one person, Ray. Ray, who's on this call, he works with me, and Ray is a very genuine guy. He's always, you know, willing to listen and learn, and I appreciate being on this call. I didn't even know you was getting on. Secondly, obviously, my parents on here, and Coach Ira, who I played with since I was like 10 years old, right? I'm extremely blessed because not everybody has such a system in their life, to say, for lack of a better word, right? I have both parents in the household. I've been fortunate enough to have good people in my life, and Coach Ira being like a second father to me. That mindset that you said, Devon, and I'm gonna correct you, Devon, when you saw me practice like that, it was junior year. You came in my junior year, you saw my junior year. It sure enough didn't wait till my senior year for you to see that. So
I mean, your senior year, you was holding your back for half the season. Your senior
year. Yeah, I was
year,
broken down by then. I had one dunk senior year, and I surprised myself. I was hurt by that point. But
it was over.
But my point is that with everything that's going on, you know, it's made me realize just even more so, right? You, like Kellen was saying, mental is a big part of it. And with everything going on, I realized some of my own mental, like thinking about things that I thought of growing up because I had to, right? I had no other choice. I didn't have to be as tough as my parents. I didn't have to be as tough as Coach Ira. They taught me how to be tough, but I didn't have to. Yet, I still had thoughts in my head of, like, you know, I can't be a child. I had to think about every decision I was making because I'm like, if I do the wrong thing in my neighborhood, something gonna happen to me. If I get pulled over by the police, something gonna happen to me, right? So before even thinking about how I want to get to the next level and do something productive, the first thought I'm thinking as in my youth is how to survive. So during all of this, I have a very diverse group of friends, and the way I've found effectiveness in, you know, just sharing that mindset is, one, telling them my personal experience, because by no means can nobody take your experience away from you. So you can't discount what I've been through or what somebody else has to experience. And then two, backing that up by facts. So I think, I forget who mentioned it, yes, like there's no distractions going on right now. So it's been great to get that across. But as we continue to grow, I am truly honored when we can do things like this, because I do believe that the only way, I said on our last Zoom call, that we're going to grow is by sharing knowledge. I don't want to know it all. I don't have to know it all. It's about us sharing our experiences and our knowledge, and that's how we're going to grow. And like my mom was saying, she don't know what way she could ever thank Ira. I don't think there's a way she could ever thank Ira. There's no way I could ever thank my parents. All we could continue to do as a community is be there for each other and pay it forward, right? So whether it's like Devon's been a mentor to me, is a good friend, it's my responsibility to make sure I'm doing that for somebody else. So that's the way we're going to grow, is by sharing those experiences and helping shape people's mindset and understanding of what's going on. So I appreciate everybody for being on this call.
You're a great example of how to become a man and how to sustain that success. And that's why you should pay it forward, because of who you are. So, you know, you're going to always be able to back up what you say with your actions, and you're very morally sound. So it's very impressive, to say the least. So I'm gonna have my older sister, Lisa Owens, speak for a second, but I'm gonna properly introduce her as well. And this one's easy. So my sister is she spent 17 years in the military. She's been literally all over the world, and whether we had or we didn't back home, I always could count on her for a couple pairs of jeans and a couple sweaters to start school, Christmas gift. Like if there was a reason for a gift until I turned 18, my sister made sure that she took care of me. And then there's been some times when I've been on my tough, and when I've had tough luck where I've had to rely on her either for some money or just for mental stability. So I want to give her an opportunity to speak about herself and her passion and what she loves, and hopefully she's not going to talk about me too much, because I don't need to blush over here. All right.
Greetings, everyone. I come to you from the beautiful ocean of the Atlantic by virtue of background. Thank you, brother. I just want to let all you fathers, I want to wish you all a happy Father's Day, because you are all so great and you are amazing. With everything that goes on in this world, you continue to persevere, and I am your fan. So happy Father's Day to you all. My brother said I would talk to you about my passion. My passion is the Lord. I love the Lord. He changed my life. And because I love him so much, I've learned how to be compassionate toward those, because all of us are just trying to live this life the best that we can. And in saying that, I have to give kudos to my brother Divine. I have seen him grow so phenomenally. I mean, he's a man of God. He's a good husband. He's a great father. He's an entrepreneur. I can just go on, and I am so proud of him. I'm also so proud of my other brother, who is also a great husband, father, entrepreneur. When I tell you my mother raised two beautiful, good-looking, phenomenal men, she sure did. To the point where I have to tell folks when I'm going to introduce them, they're married. Just to put that disclaimer out there, because I don't want no drama. I am sharing this forum with a lot of people because it's so beneficial to us. It's so beneficial. It teaches us, it inspires us to contribute to our communities and to just continue to help pull other people in to listen to what's going on in our community. It's time that we help each other. It's time that we support each other. And that's why I'm so grateful for this forum. I myself, I've been working, like my brother said, for the Army, but then I got out. I didn't retire, but then I started working for civil service, and that's what I do now. I'm also a published author. So if you would like to go out there and read something about a spiritual book, please download my ebook. It's called Don't Be Deceived, The 3 Sins of the World by Lisa Starr Owens. And if you look at what's going on today, the 3 sins of the world: the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, the pride of life, money, power, and sex. It seems like America just can't seem to get away from that money so they can have that power and that lust for sex, because it's not godly, it's lust. Thank you, Divine, for giving me this opportunity. And again, you all have a wonderful, happy Father's Day.
Thank you, sis. I love you. Thank you.
I love you too.
Okay, so we have Reverend Jared Lewis back on, and what better timing to bring him on after my sister spoke so eloquently about her book. You guys see your sound? Let's get a little sound check on you there, Reverend.
Testing. Is this better?
Oh, we can hear you now. We can hear you loud and clear. So without
Well,
further ado, I'm going to give you the floor so that we can, be blessed with some of your knowledge.
Well, let me just say thank you once again. I apologize. Certainly, I understand the importance of preparation, and depending on Wi-Fi in certain times of the day. So certainly, please excuse me. I think this is wonderful. As I was stating before I jumped off and tried to jump back on, Divine, keep it up. Keep it up. I think that's the most important thing I can say right now is for you to keep it up. Charles, wonderful. You guys are working together. You don't know how many young men you're going to, not only that, but families and the legacy that you will touch. Everything big starts small. Despise not the day of small beginnings. Coach Powell, thank you so much. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to go back to the recording, listen to you. Coach Gary, Coach Gee, Gary Charles, there's none like you. I would not be where I am without you. Aaron, phenomenal. Aaron, keep going, keep growing. Keep up the great work. To the rest of the men that were on this call and the ladies, I think this is a wonderful thing. I'm going to talk very briefly, Divine. I won't be long. But I want to talk from the father perspective in regards to, I think fathers and sons are having very important conversations right now. And the social aspect, the psychological aspect, but also the economic impact that we're facing today is important. I know I'm thinking about the conversations I'm having with my son right now and what I will explain to him about the past, the present, and the future. And a father gives you identity. It's more than just buying a pair of shoes for $200. They have to see you holding up your pants. They have to see you with a haircut. They have to see you how you treat a woman. And I thank God for my father who laid an excellent example in my life. And I understand some men don't have that, but we are empowered to help those that we can. And the father gives the foundation. I think one of the important things that I'm learning and is that if you don't have a foundation, you got to build it yourself. You got to find somewhere to get support, leverage to build and to develop. And oftentimes, as you said before, Divine, you need support. You need time, unconditional love. You need someone there to be with you. And I think one of the most important things I've learned as being a father, even a co-parent, if some brothers understand what I'm talking about, is to spend time. You can spend $1 million, send $1 million, but overtime at work does not duplicate or replicate the importance of presence and being with someone. And what I would like to just say very briefly, I think a good example for me right now, which most people are not talking about, is the father of Dr. King. We talk about Dr. King, but we don't really understand it was a platform that he stood upon that his father laid for him. Dad King, not Dr. King, but Dad King set up just incredible principles for his son that his son was able to build upon. And Dr. King, the son, was raised in a home with 3 generations. And they sacrificed in so much in Atlanta that when it was time for his son to get an education, the son really did not have to work as much as the father, but he had time to improve and enhance his education. And I thought that was a wonderful concept that I understand, that I learned from his father. One of the other things I learned about Dad King's father, not Dr. King, but Dad King, is that he began to teach his son about voter registration. At a young age, he had meetings in his living room. Think about the significance of that. Right now, we're talking about the election. I've heard several gentlemen at the beginning of this call. Certainly, economic empowerment is important, but if we can protest without voting, it is so important that we collaborate together and have that understanding. As I said last night, I was on a call at 10 o'clock last night, dealing with people preparing for the march in Washington, NAACP, different Urban League, different organizations I'm working with. But the most important concept that I want to put before you is, if we don't vote, we're losing our voice. And Dad King had meetings in his living room
before his son was famous years before. And so that's so significant, understanding the value. His father also had 3 concepts. And I think this is applicable for Divine for your calls: spending, saving, and sharing. I'm gonna say that again: spending, saving, and sharing. His father saved the church from going in foreclosure in Atlanta. We talk about Ebenezer and how big it is right now, and how Dr. King and the memorial and all the things they have in relation to his life. But before all that happened, that church was in foreclosure. And his father had the business astute and understanding to help that church come out of foreclosure. So listen to me, brethren, listen to me, my sisters, so that the church will become the central piece, the central element of the civil rights movement. Because I know we have Black Lives Matters now, and it's wonderful, but this is the first movement that has not been birthed out of the church. And the leadership of the Black Lives Matter is not from the church. And so that's why you have so many diverse views, as Aaron stated. But the core principles to getting to voting, empowerment, and equality came from the church, because our voice is untainted. We're not working for the police department. We're not working for the educational department. Dr. King had a pure voice. He started his own organization, birthed out of the church, Southern Christian Leadership Council. So it's so important, the conference, to talk about that. Last thing I'm gonna say is that Dad King took the time to encourage his son to be fully educated. Dr. King, the son, received his doctorate at the age of 25. He died young, but he accomplished so much. Here it is, brothers, because the father laid a foundation. So what I'm saying right now, I'm gonna be very precise, is don't think about yourself. Think about who's following you. What conversations, as you're having Divine right now with all of these powerful men, how are we gonna duplicate this in our families, in our communities, on our teams, with our colleagues? I've heard some brothers, Brother Walmart talk about, he's talking with the president. Come to the table. You don't have to have a mic, but have power at the table. Most of the work is done behind the scenes. And I want to encourage you, don't stop. Keep going. Divine, I'm not going to let you stop. I'm going to stay on top of you.
I appreciate it. That's what I want. Yep.
Don't quit. Listen to me. Don't quit. Don't worry about the attendance. Yeah, I had my technical problems today, but I kept trying. I tried 3 laptops. I'm not at my office. The agenda today, I almost too late there last night, so my wife made me sleep today, and I woke up and tried to do the laptop here. But I want to remind you, don't quit. Don't quit. You guys are wonderful. Certainly Divine. Whatever way I can support, you guys need any resources as it relates to me making connections. Divine, know I'm all about that. I am all about that because I believe that I'm an instrument. I certainly want to again say Happy Father's Day. Those who are fathers, those who will be fathers, this is one of the most important roles that you can have in life. You are created in the image of God, and God is a father, but God wants us to understand how we treat our sons and our daughters to be a good example. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I apologize for the inconvenience as far as technology, but I'm so elated to see what is happening in front of my eyes. And remember, guys, this is a moment in history. We're making history right now. Don't think, hey, this is something that happened. No, we are trendsetters. We are the ones who begin to impact the world, and it starts with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate those kind words. We really do. I'm going to unmute my buddy, Rich Giddens, over here. Rich, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
So let me properly introduce you, okay? So Rich is a friend of mine who I met after I was done playing college basketball, and I was playing in the local rec leagues. And it was actually probably when I was in the prime of my basketball ability. So we played in some pretty high-level summer leagues and winter leagues, and we actually competed against each other pretty well. He's probably one of the most competitive and outspoken people that I've been around. So there's definitely been some times where he and I, as we're playing the game on offense or defense, are running up and down the court yelling at each other. So But I'll give you a couple minutes to introduce yourself, Rich.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time, Divine. Just want to say kudos to you. This is tremendous leadership. The leadership on here is absolutely amazing. I just want to say I've learned so much just listening to everybody. Want to definitely start off, when we're talking about standing on other people's shoulders, that's so important. Want to definitely shout out to Gary Charles, definitely a shout out. I had a short stint with him. I actually played Division I basketball, got a state championship back in 1997. And after I won my state championship, Mr. Gary allowed me to play on his team. He allowed me. But the reason why I say that, the success he had was amazing. I'll never forget the game, IS-8, literally Riverside Church, Elton Brand, Ron Artest, Reggie Jesse, Omar Cook, and they had another stud. And, we had Lamar Odom, Tavares Bell, Donald Hand, Leroy Robinson. And that experience was just amazing. So I played a lot of basketball, but to actually get that type of experience through him was amazing. So kudos to that. After playing Division I basketball, bounced around a little bit, ended up getting an athletic director job at Upper Room Christian School. And while I was there, I founded Long Island's first ever postgraduate program. So I was there from 2013 to 2016. All right. Wasn't expecting to get let go from there after so much success, but hey, I had some other people who were in charge. But one of the things that I did there during the postgraduate program was I applied for the NEPSAC. And in applying for the NEPSAC, I called and reached out to them and said, hey, listen, I just started a postgraduate program. I want to apply for the NEPSAC. And the guy told me, he's like, listen, your school's not going to be able to get into the NEPSAC, but you can apply for friend status. So at that time, I said, well, what is the reason? So I decided to do a little bit of research on my own. And I'm really leaning towards education because I believe education and economics is really the biggest problem, really the biggest problem. But, at this school, and I'm not able to share. Are you able to allow me to share screen, Divine? Or no?
I believe so.
Yeah, if you can let me share screen. I want to read something here, and this is what I started doing is I went and I looked at what they were teaching the students at these schools up there. And what I found out is that what they were teaching kids at these schools, these schools were $45,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. And what was being taught to them was completely different than what was being taught at our school, which was a private school, much less the public schools. And so I just want to share this with you and show you, what one of the things that I saw here. So this is Brewster Academy, and we're looking at their academics, and I went through all of their classes, what they offer in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And now you get all the way to the end of this, and it reads 9th grade, Owning Up. It says, designed in partnership with the Yale Center of Emotional Intelligence, this course introduces students to the center's rule approach, which helps them to recognize, understand, label, express, and regulate emotions. So in 9th grade at some of these schools, these are the things that are being taught on top of a much higher level of education, So, I just wanted, to just kind of share that with everyone. I really believe that the education system is lopsided. The people up at these schools are being trained to take over the world, while we're just getting degrees and hopefully going off to college. In addition to that, I think it's great because obviously we have people of different faiths here. I am a Christian, but, with us having different faiths, we still have to be able to work together. And I just love the fact that, Divine, you've got so much diversity on here. You've got so many different, people here. And it's so important that regardless of where we stand from a faith standpoint, if we're going to stand together as a people, then we kind of have to try and stand, agree to disagree on some things just so that we can get the things done that need to be done. So I just wanted to share that. I absolutely appreciate your time, Divine. And I thank you for the opportunity.
A good point you made about the level of learning going on at different schools. So because honestly, you take a young man who comes from, you know, poverty, and you just put him in a position where he gets strong behavior, and he's likely to come out on the other side of that with strong behavior, you know,
Yes.
because he's having the opportunity to experience
Yeah.
strong behavior. So that's how you learn how to deal with it. You learn by being, you know, put to the test. So being around those type of people, that's what the result is ultimately going to be. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Right. Thank you.
So I'd like to unmute Coach Lato. Coach,
Yes, sir.
how are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. How about yourself? How's everybody doing?
Wayne, I think we're doing well here. I'm going to allow you to, you know, speak your heart. It always works out well. So
You know, I'm in like everybody else. I'm in a different space emotionally than normal for a lot of reasons. So a lot of things go through my mind on a daily basis about not just the last few weeks or this pandemic or all the trials and tribulations that you go through both collectively and individually, especially. But most importantly, what is going to come from it? You know, what is America going to look like in 3 months or 6 months or a year from now? And that becomes sometimes more scary than the moments that we're living in right now, because the power structure and some of the things that you all are talking about and the things that we agree on are the things that the power structure disagrees on. And they call the power structure because they have the power and are going to be unwilling to unleash some of that power for the greater good. So I concern myself with how, and Gary and I were talked about this for a long time yesterday, how we are going to unify ourselves, because that is the premise by which we have been stagnated, because we have been divided for a very long time. And so the unification process is going to be met with resistance, you know, at all levels. And are we strong enough? Are we astute enough? Are we resilient enough to remain unified for a very long time? Because today is, I think, the 23rd or 24th day in a row that there have been protests, but slowly but surely the message is going to dissipate if, in fact, we don't, you know, stand tall every single day and develop a collective strategic plan on how we want to create this kind of change that we are so emotionally unhappy about at this moment. And so in my chair as a coach, I have a little bit of influence, but I only have influence as one person. You know, I hearken back to the 60s, and I was just having this conversation earlier today, and you know, I asked the question as a question was asked me on a phone call, where, you know, if you take the greatest athlete of our lifetime in Muhammad Ali, and you know, would any of us, you know, give up 3 years of their life and go to jail for something that you believe in? You know, for 4 years, Colin Kaepernick was chastised, and now all of a sudden he's revered for giving up the sport that he loved. And so if the times we're in are so important, which they are, it's going to call for all of us to be willing to do something very uncomfortable, you know, and hopefully not to the level that that we lose something so near and dear to us, but at the same point in time, the cause for the unification of us as a people and for the advancement in whatever avenue is important is going to ask a lot, because they're just not going to give up the kind of power that they've had for 400 years. It's just not going to happen because we protest or we hashtag or we do those kinds of things. And so, you know, it's got me energized, but it's also got me concerned. And my concern is how it's going to look, you know, once the dust settles and they say, okay, you've had your moments, let's get back to the business at hand. And so, appreciate the time always. Divine is a tremendous individual. This is my second call with a few of you, so I do appreciate it. And Gary and I are like thinkers and equally yoked, and so we're locked in at trying to create the kind of unification and future that would be impactful for the people that we serve every day.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate you. You know how much I love you. So
sure.
You're a strong man, and happy Father's Day to you. And I'm sure we'll speak again on Sunday either way. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers on this call, because if we're all, equally strong men in our community or in our profession or on the basketball court, I'm sure that we're the same at home with our loved ones. So,
hey, Divine, as I forgot, I think it was Mr. Paul was saying earlier, because of the sacrifice of coaches. So the joke in my family is that it's happy part-time Father's Day.
I mean, you don't even realize, and you guys can attest to this more than I can because of the amount of time that you've been involved with basketball, but you don't even realize while you're doing it how much time you actually invest outside of the home until your kids start to grow and things start to change. And next thing you know, I got Charles McCann, they're pushing me out in the wheelchair right now. So so it's amazing. It really is. So, well, kudos to you guys, man. I got to tell you, excellence over an extended period of time. Like it's to be commended. Ira, Gary, Coach Lato, Coach Powell, my father-in-law, Curtis Petaway. You guys have been showing us the way for a long time with your example of being strong and striving to be the best you. Not greatness compared to somebody else, but just be the best version of yourself. So it's dope. It's amazing. So I want to introduce my dad, actually, my father-in-law here. All right. So I know you weren't really looking forward to speaking, but I'm known to put people on the spot. So it's your turn right now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, actually I can.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the conversation today. I wanted to just listen and I'd soak up all the information. Great group of people here. I enjoyed it. And I want to wish everybody a happy Father's Day. You're in good company, Divine.
I try. Well, I got a good example from you, so you have been someone who is a great father, a great husband. You're taking care of your family financially. You're living pretty comfortably in retirement. Everyone in your family loves you, and I love you and have a great deal of respect for you as a man. So when I have tough days, you're definitely someone who I know that I can either talk to or who I can reflect on your behavior to push me through any tough days that I may experience. So it means a lot to me. So just want to let you know that I love you.
All right, I do too. I love you too, and I appreciate you. And I'm glad my daughter made a great choice.
So she can hear you. So you made a great choice, Vanessa.
And so did you.
I sure did. That's a fact. I sure did. So I'm gonna have Ray. Ray, you have some thoughts.
Let's speak a little bit. All right, thank you. I'm really humbled to be here with all of you today and listening to all of the different perspectives on life, coaching, fatherhood, religion, faith. It's really humbling, and I want you to know that on the side of everybody that's out there right now listening to all these things going on in politics and all these things going on in the world, there are good people out there who want the best for everybody and who want everybody to have the right leg up in life and the right success. I'll give you a little bit of background on myself. I don't want to talk too much, but Divine and Charles don't even know this, but we have an affiliation. We're co-workers, but we also have an affiliation through LIU Post. As a young man, when I was about 2 years old, my father was a heroin addict. So my family threw him out of the house at a very young age, and I never had him in my life. He never supported me in any way. My mom was 17 years old when she had me. So I was raised by, as Reverend Lewis said, I was raised by 3 generations in my family. I had my great-grandparents in my household. I had my grandparents, and then I had my mother, who was 17, who was a kid herself, and I had her brothers and sisters as my pretty much surrogate siblings, raising me in a household all together. And Divine knows my aunt very well. He's coached my godsons in basketball. I have twin godsons who are 15 years old, and Divine's coached them and mentored them, and they absolutely adored Divine. So that being said, I've been a very old soul my whole life, and I had to be my own father in a lot of ways. And, I didn't have much direction when it came to, male role models. My grandfather was in the household and my great-grandfather, but my grandfather was always working, and he was literally supporting a family of like 7 or 8 people and keeping a roof over our heads. So the only lessons he used to tell me was, Raymond, just be a man's man. That's what he used to always tell me. And I'd be like, Grandpa, but how do I throw a fastball? Don't worry about it. Just be a man's man. Or how do I hit a baseball? Don't worry about it. Just be a man's man, he would tell me all the time. So long story short, I feel that in certain backgrounds, what ends up happening, and what I've seen, I played a lot of sports. I played football and I played lacrosse in college at Post. What I've always seen, whenever anybody spoke out of turn or said something derogatory or racist, it always came from a place of fear and ignorance. So that's what I wanted you to just let you understand. Whenever I was in a locker room and somebody would say something, it always came from a background of fear and ignorance. And I was lucky enough that at 12 years old, one of my best friends growing up that I played sports with was African American, my friend Sean. And so I always played on teams with him. And when he was recruited for college, my family really had no background in any kind of college education, where I was going to go to school or anything. I was recruited with him to CW Post, and we played together from the time I was in 7th grade until I was a senior in college. We played together on a national championship team, and we roomed together. And I was lucky enough to be able to have a little bit of diversity and see the other side of things, and be able to have a different background and feel the differences, whereas other people that aren't always exposed to differences, and they don't get to understand that, if that makes any sense. So it was just always second nature for me. So whenever I come across anyone, from different backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds, religions, you accept because you have been in spots and you know what people are like and you understand. And if you don't have that, it's just complete ignorance, and they will always feel fearful or angry for what they don't know.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for those words, Ray.
You're welcome. Thank you for
I appreciate you, Ray. You're always positive when I come in the office when we work.
It's nice to listen to Reverend Lewis. It was nice to listen to Reverend Lewis, to listen to Mr. Charles, like Mr. Powell. Everybody, they really had some wonderful things to say. And it really comes down to having faith, family, and just, accepting everyone and having an open heart. And if you have that, any situations can be accomplished. At this time, you really have to go out and vote. You have to get people in there who have your voice, and you have the legislation passed that you want, so that you can protect, the people in society and the citizens the right way. And that's really what it comes down to. And I appreciate everybody listening to me, and I hope I didn't speak out of turn. And I love you all, and happy Father's Day.
Vote. Yes, vote. Dr. Johnson.
Hey, I
Hold on.
remember. Yep. In the very beginning, I remember we were talking about Juneteenth, and I remember just going off on a rant, and we didn't really get to the Juneteenth part. Now, just remember, we started the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. Remember that Abraham Lincoln freed so-called enslaved African people in the South, in the seceding states and cities, and that were once a part of the Union, but they seceded to create the Confederacy. He really had no jurisdiction to do that, no power to do that since they created their own separate country, but he did it to break their backs. So in that, so slavery was not abolished in 1863, but he abolished it in those states or cities that were seceding. But the people in Texas, the black folk in Texas, the enslaved Africans in Texas had no idea. Remember, there was no social media, there was no democratizing of media, period. So they didn't know. They were still enslaved. They were still, it was business as usual until a Union general showed up 2 years later to basically say, you guys are free. And in that moment, that June 19th, 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, these people were like, they used that as the date to kind of celebrate their freedom. And to be honest with you, let's be real honest. It's a beautiful thing for us to embrace the day, get out, buy black. A lot of people are kind of like, do different things during Juneteenth to kind of commemorate it. Buy black, teach your kids and community members about it. Sit with your children and talk about the context that we're in right now, and talk about our history of yesteryear. All those things are excellent. But I wanted to really put a fine point on this. Black people were never free. After 1865, we know that soon after that, the ushering in of Jim Crow was another almost 100 years of pretty much legalized racism, legalized oppression, and almost another form of slavery. So I just wanted to kind of underscore that it is excellent because black people have made a way out of no way for so long. Black people are that magical to where I always tell my students this: you cannot, if you are a black person or a person of color in American society, you cannot be an inferior being. It's impossible. If you were inferior, America wouldn't have spent so much time, resources, effort, and money towards subduing you, towards oppressing you. There has to be something special and magical about you. But we just have to make sure that we underscore that there was no real freedom for us. And we're still fighting for equity. We're still fighting to be recognized as human beings. That was one point I wanted to make without being super long-winded. The second one I wanted to make is for our white brothers and sisters. Certain words need to become a part of your vocabulary, and it needs to be spread among your family and friends. For years and years and years, we have lived in a state of accepted heinousness or debauchery. We've lived in accepted craziness, right? All of this racism stuff that we have to deal with, and police brutality, disproportionality, and the prison industrial complex, and all of the different things that ravages us as a people, it is insanity. But it's an accepted insanity because the craziest people run the asylum. And we have to make sure that we underscore that white people in our society need to embrace certain terms like privilege, like fragility, like redlining, like gentrification, like brutality, disproportionality. They have to understand these words, and they need to have these conversations with their family members and friends. What's becoming more and more in vogue right now is engaging black people to teach white people what racism is, even though it is practiced by white people against black people. I can give you resources all day long. It's up to you to empathize and information for action. Again, oh my God, I can't believe it's been that bad and I had no idea. That's okay. But after you have done that, how can I be of service? And then you move towards action. And that's something that we need to kind of make sure that when we're having these conversations in these spaces, we need to be unapologetically black. Those of us who are black, we need to be very direct, and we need not tiptoe around anyone about what needs to happen moving forward. We need empathy for action. We need policy. We need law. We need normalization of our humanity. And we need reparations. When I hear people in the street, and I'm a button this up with this. When I went to my last protest and people were like, what do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. And I'm just like, that's excellent. But also, what do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. If we're talking about Black Lives Matter, then not just symbolically Black Lives Matter. Black economic lives matter. You cannot steal from people for centuries, have them create the wealth of this country, and then not return it to them. That's thievery. If I stole from you or your house, or if I burned your house down, and then you sued me, and then I died, that debt doesn't go away. It goes to my children. So when people tell me, oh, I wasn't alive during slavery, I didn't do that, and you weren't alive, you weren't in slavery either, I'm like, yeah, but you benefit. Your whiteness is a social privilege, even if you grew up poor. Even if you came up rough, that whiteness that was created is a social privilege. And when you create these things that like whiteness, which is fake, and blackness, which is fake, right? But we do that on purpose. White and black, polar opposites. Why? Because if we associate whiteness with goodness, intelligence, and all those other positive attributes, then the polar opposite of that, blackness, will be all of the negative attributes: badness, wrongness, unintelligence. And we do that on purpose. Why? Because our eyes tell us who's in front of us. So as soon as we see that black person, all of those ethnofallisms and stereotypes are really coming up in our skull. And we respond based upon our conditioning, which leads to implicit bias, which leads to institutional bias, which keeps us on the outside of everything. So we just got to make sure we're speaking truth to power. If we're going to have this conversation about Black Lives Matter, we need to be talking about reparations now. If you're in the street saying Black Lives Matter, you should be following up reparations now. What do we want? Justice? When do we want it now? What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it now? We're owed, and it's not a handout. It's what's owed. And that's all I got to say. I just want to make sure before we got out of here.
Well,
Hey,
I got to tell you, I
have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Devon, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
So, Aaron, what you said was beautiful. You hit everything right on the head. But I was having this conversation the other day of what reparations would look like, you know, and I was thinking one idea maybe, you know, was to send, you know, Black boys and girls to college for free, you know, but the college of their choosing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me just say this. What we must make sure that we do is we have to kind of take a step back and look at our economy and look at what we're saying, right? Sending our children to college for free, that's kind of a basic starter. The reason why I say that is this: college doesn't guarantee employment because we have a different economy than we once had. Back in the day when you used to tell people, go to college, get that degree, you got a job, and you got a great job, you got a pension, and everything was great. That is not today's economy. So I have 5 college degrees. I'm pretty sure when I go to get a job somewhere or do my application, it's not an automatic that I'm getting that job and I'm highly educated. So college is not a guarantee. And plus, when we talk about institutional bias, a white man with a high school diploma and a felony gets a job before a Black man in a college degree and no criminal record. So the college degree is not going to guarantee them a great life. It's not going to guarantee them the middle class of America. So when we're talking about reparations, we're talking about a multi-layered approach. And what frustrates me is when especially white folks in positions of power say, how are we going to pay for it? You weren't worried about that when you passed a $2 trillion unpaid tax cut to give the wealthiest white people in America money. A give back on our backs, the taxpayer. We can find money when we want to go play. We'll go fight in the Middle East. When we want to go take someone's resources, we'll spend $1 trillion on that. They owe us literally between 13 and 16 trillion dollars. Figure it out, America. Like, my thing is, here's when you understand where we have gone so wrong. If you take a shortcut to become a superpower, because that's what America did. In terms of age, in terms of how long America has been around as a country, we should not be this powerful. But the shortcut was America's version of capitalism. Capitalism is maximizing profit, minimizing costs. So what did you do? Maximize profit by enslaving people and minimize costs. You ain't got to pay them. So the system that they built here was created for the greater good of wealthy white comfort. And then they created the white nest in the late 1600s in order to convince poor whites to not be connected to us. So they undercut indentured servitude in favor of chattel slavery. And then instead of the white folks saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're chattel enslaving you, they said, you stole our jobs. Where did we hear that before? Right? You're taking our jobs. They blame Black people for being enslaved. So we have to kind of shift our focus. When America wants to do something, when it wants to go to the moon, or when it wants to go into outer space, or wants to invade a country, or give wealthy white people tax cuts, they'll do it without thinking about how it's going to be paid for. I think college is only a piece of the pie. I think real estate.
Real estate. Real estate.
There's a lot of things, right?
Real estate.
Real estate. We're talking about investments. I'm talking about there should be Black.
Yes.
You can't steal from our people, not give it back, profit off of what you stole, and then say, I don't know how to give you back your money. Well, you're going to have to sell some assets. You're going to figure it. You got to figure it out. College is just one little small piece.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question, Divine?
Good point.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron.
Go ahead.
I want to pose a question, and I think Coach Lato, you did an excellent job. You were dealing with what many of the clergy and many of the organizations, and I thank Aaron for his perspective. But it made me think while Aaron was speaking on the commitment of this generation. You know, Dr. King, I'm using Dr. King, 381 days they boycotted. They walked for 381 days, right? And this, as you said, 24 days. You know, we've been seeing the protests, and the protests have bringing some changes. But Aaron was talking about a bigger perspective, and I'm curious here to see on our level, and I want to hear him and Gary's perspective, and even Coach Powell, on what can we share with my generation about the commitment to maintain. What are some practical solutions we can do now? Because I hear Aaron's heart, but as Aaron said, he still got to encourage us to march next month. And I'm in several meetings, and the biggest question right now is the commitment going to last? So I want to hear your perspective on what can we do to maintain the commitment to be active. And I'm just curious, you brought that up.
You know, I think the simplistic way is to keep the fire burning. You know, I have a cynical phrase that I use all the time, and that I try not to include myself in the we, are nothing more in this country than sheep, and we follow the trend of the moment. You know, you turn on the television, and whether it's CNN or whatever, and that they tell you what you should believe. And because for a lot of different reasons, we may be too busy, or we've got our own lives, we got, you know, that we get pockets of information that give us, you know, how to think, how to feel, where the intensity comes from. And so the reality of it is, and first of all, I feel like about a second grader listening to Aaron, because of his brilliance.
Unbelievable, Coach. He's unbelievable.
I'm just like, wow, I got so much I've got to learn. But the reality of it is, my fear is that if the candle does not stay lit, and by candle I mean what you preach about every day, what Aaron is talking about, what I have to talk about, everybody has in their own corner, not continuous, then we're going to fall prey to the next story. And sooner rather than later, the next story is not going to be about George Floyd and Rayshard Brooks and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and, you know, all the way back to Rodney King. It's going to be about what they want us to tap dance to, for lack of another term.
Yep.
When we go in another direction, our focus is going to be so to answer that, for me, it means that we as leadership have to, especially in our youth and the people that are in our circle, whether it's in your church or in my gymnasium or wherever, is keep preaching the word of, if you're inspired now, if you're hurting now, if whatever emotion, and Black people are way more emotional than any other entity that's out there, keep those emotions high for change that you think is necessary. But because they're coming after their right to do what they've been doing for 400 years, and they're not just going to give it up because we're mad. And so I don't know if that quite answers your question, but it's for our youth especially, we have to stay in their ear and not let them get distracted from the major message that we need to deliver.
Powell?
Aaron got my brain going, so I'll probably be better able to answer this at our next meeting when I have time to think about everything he just said. Okay, but as far as personally, my kids and the people I mentor, again, they're out there every single day. I just picked up my van today to bring some people out. They're going to go protest over in an area near us called in Shirley. They're meeting with a bunch of Black businesses in the area. They're going out there. Again, my kids, they're constantly telling me about certain things they're doing, where they're going, and who they're meeting up with, and who they're talking to. Again, people who I've mentored and I've coached, they all are gung-ho at this point. everybody wants to, again, change is done, again, in our community first. They're focusing on our community and changing our community. And it seems like they're more engaged now than ever before in changing things in our community. But like I said, what Aaron just threw at me, again, I gotta think about that for a while and try to see where we can come together and unite and how we can get some of those things and some of those resources that he just described.
I want to, can I piggyback off of that?
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt anybody.
No, Devon, can I say one thing before you go, Aaron?
Go ahead.
We need more Aarons. Everybody, I was talking about this with people last week. I said everybody has a lane in this movement. We all have a lane. Everybody doesn't have to do the same thing. Some are educators, some are frontline protesters, some are spiritual leaders and spiritual healers, and then some are just comforters and mental health perspectives. And Aaron, my biggest thing that I've been telling everyone is we need to get educated. What you just did in that 5-minute span was educate me so much to, like, after we get off this call, I want to go research more about what you were talking about. And the youth movement, they're at the front lines. Like Coach Powell just said, the youth are at the front lines in numbers, in astonishing numbers. But the youth have to be educated to be able to back up their claims of what they want. Because when they get to that finish line, the question is going to be, what do you want now that you're here? You're at the table. Can you eloquently describe,
That's right.
you tell us what you want and what you need? And we need people like you, Aaron, to really get in our education system and really teach these kids what you just said, because they're going to have to be able to respond with what the information that you have and that you've given. So it got to start from the bottom. Our education system has to start over, and we have to educate them on the truth.
I was just about to say, it's interesting that you just said that. I was just about to say, I teach African American studies and I teach global history. And in my class, we explore this stuff. And when Jared, Reverend, it's so hard for me not to, I have to give him his all due respect. I remember Jared when on the block, but anyway, playing basketball. But when Reverend Lewis just said, it just, to me, it just makes a lot of sense, you know, because he's worried about, well, are we going to have the ability to sustain the energy? The last rally I was at, one of my former students was there with a bullhorn. He said, Johnson, you want to speak? Dr. Johnson, you want to speak? I was like, yeah. I said, because I'm here, I'm going to speak. And so I got on the bullhorn after a young lady just like, we made history. And I was so frustrated. I was like, we didn't make history. We had Dr. King on the front line. We had Malcolm X on the front line. I said, we didn't make history at all. I said, let's not play ourselves. Bring that same energy that you have right now, screaming Black Lives Matter. Bring that same energy to your school board meetings. Bring that same energy to your to the administrators in your school. This can happen organically. So what Jared, your question when you were asking about, well, how do we sustain this fire that's burning? Yes, that's a big part of things. However, if we continue in our different parts of the world organically, like the gentleman just said, the education structure needs to change. And we need to do this we need to stop teaching through the lens of whiteness. That white gaze colors everything. And when we have white teachers who are interested in protecting their whiteness while they're teaching whiteness, that is dangerous. Think about that. They are white teachers teaching whiteness with a white perspective. And that makes it dangerous for our kids. When you have teachers saying, I'm colorblind, I don't see color. That means I'm white and I'm going to ignore the issues that you are dealing with every single day, the microaggressions, the racism that you're going through every single day. Like they have to change their approach. And when I do my professional developments at my school, or if I do any consultation work, I get them immediately with their perspective. I challenge their perspectives, and I say, what's going to be a challenge for you white educators is to discard your personal connection to your perspective right now. We're going to throw those perspectives in the middle, and we're going to disassociate from them. And then what we're going to do is, when it's time to come up with the solutions, then we're going to get back into this perspective, so the defensiveness doesn't step in, it matters. We all need to personalize it. So from our small parts of the world that we live in, whether it's education, whether it's in the church or faith, whatever faith-based leadership position you're in, we have to make sure that we are teaching in a very unapologetic way. What has been done successfully in our school system is we have educated the empathy out of children. And if you look in our history books, we talk about slavery in a way that it almost like it wasn't that bad. Like, oh, it happened, it was terrible, and then Lincoln freed you guys, and then Dr. King made you freer. Everything's great now. And we really play ourselves. I always ask my kids, I said, guys, have you noticed that they always show Dr. King in black and white on purpose? They were like, wait, wasn't it mad long ago? I said, no, he died. I said, my cousin was born when he died. She was my older cousin, the cool cousin that went to Hampton University, HBCU, pretty, and AKA. That cousin, that was my cousin. That's my oldest cousin. That's my first cousin. I said, I'm not that old. I said, I could talk your talk. I could walk your walk. I can, all y'all doing is do some what we did anyway in the 90s. I said, so my cousin is the first generation in my family to have full American citizenship rights. And every time you see Dr. King, they want to make sure that he looks like he was around in the 1920s. I said, they do that on purpose. They have color pictures of him. I said, they want to make you think that this thing is a long time ago so you don't associate it with right now. I said, you have to understand, overstand what they're doing. And I said, but it takes a person who has the lived experience of racism and who is an expert in it by my study to really explain it to them because of my empathy and because of what I want for my own kids and what I want for them. If I'm a white man who has a limited connection to black people, I've lived in white land, I've been educated in white land, I went to a white land college, and now I'm going to a school that's multicultural. How the heck am I going to give them a perspective?
Exactly.
For growth.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
So we have to do a good job at that on a foundational level.
Hey,
Aaron,
can I ask you a
Aaron,
question?
Divine, if I can say this real quick.
Can I ask Aaron a question? This is a little bit personal to me, but I haven't been able to come up with a true definitive answer. So as part of the struggle when we came over, we were called the N-word, and then we were Negro, and then we were colored, and then we fought so long and so hard to be called black. At what point do we become African American? And tell me what your thoughts are, because I think it's a watered down version of what we fought to become as black men or black people. And so if it's African American or if it's Asian American or it's whatever, why isn't it European American? As if we're going to subset all of those things.
We're always hyphenated Americans, right? So they call us hyphenated Americans because we don't get the full respect. But I always say we're on different parts of our journey to consciousness, right? So African American was a term that like Jesse Jackson and others really wanted to gain for us because of our lack of identity. I think it was right-headed when he thought about it. It's wrong-headed in retrospect. Because we black folk here, and when I say black folks because that's also a term, they don't know who we are, and neither do we. So we call ourselves whatever is clever, right? Because as dark as I am, that gentleman right there, Kellen, has a black shirt on. I'm not that dark, right? So, but I love my blackness because of what we created behind it, right? How we've characterized it, how we've given it our character, our culture. But African American, it makes no sense. Africa is a continent with 53 countries. We can identify with all of them. America is North America and South America. Then we even have regional Central America. I couldn't call a black Canadian an African American, even though they have it, which is North. I can't call a black Brazilian an African American, even though they have African descent and they're in South America, right? They would look at me crazy if I did that because African American now has taken on the connotation or the connection or synonymous with Black American. We call ourselves these things because we don't know who we are. And now if you go do your DNA and figure out who you are, then you can call yourself like I'm dominantly Nigerian and Ghanaian. You know, I found out my people are from Ghana and Nigeria dominantly. So we just have a lack of perspective. We are Americans, period, because of our citizenship. they love to hyphenate us because they like to tell us how much we're not American. And then the nigga thing is another thing altogether. I do a lesson on that. We love to discard white supremacy, and we're holding on to nigga with a kung fu grip, but that's another story.
Aaron, I think we should not run away from that language conversation, because let me just be honest with you. I'm meeting with very high individuals in meetings I'm having right now, and it's slipping out. It's slipping out. Coach Leo, I've heard in meetings with top officials, don't say you're black, say you're in this. Say you're this, we're all people in this. And even in Black Lives Matter, it's very diluted. It's very loose. It's not direct. And that could be a strategy to make us less progressive, but also to fight each other. And that's a key point. The last thing I'm gonna say, Aaron, is you should, as everyone, continue to make platforms for yourself to educate individuals, because we, like Kellen, keep putting platforms. Womack, Devon, we got to keep setting platforms. I'm going to invite some of you guys to speak because we need to hear the voice.
Yes.
We need to keep expanding, and we need to duplicate. And Aaron, if we don't address, let me tell you, there have been over 10 white pastors who have made public apologies for saying the word white privilege over the last 2 weeks. White blessing over the last 2 weeks. I mean, these are pastors who have half the congregation is black. So it is a training. It is an improper education. And Aaron, I agree with you. We need to be aggressive. And Coach, you said a great thing, Coach Slater. How we speak about ourselves determines how others will speak about us. And if we're not clear on how we speak about ourselves, how can we direct someone in a midst of an intense meeting and tell them to call us something we're not clear on ourselves? We have to be true about our own identity. And that's so important.
I agree.
See, whenever
Can I ask a question? Aaron, I just want to thank you for really sparking this conversation. Just like, everything that happened in America, we needed a spark. I think you were the spark for this conversation tonight. So I really appreciate that. I listened to something this weekend, and some of this is ringing out for me. And it basically said, when we run away from accountability, we get weaker. And I want to hold everyone in this group accountable. Aaron, you are super, super, super smart, super educated. You need to be on the front lines educating the masses about this stuff. The masses. Nobody knows this. And the way that you articulate this and the way that you're passionate about it, people will follow you, man. And I want to push you to do that, because it's great to be talking in this Zoom right now. But, dude, I can see you speaking to thousands of people and educating them. And I think that's what we're missing. I know Jared is talking about Black Lives Matter and the potential of the N-word being able to use to divide us. I think we need like an actual political party, because for us to get reparations and to actually be at that table, we have to have a political party. Without that, it will never happen, ever. And you're intelligent enough to speak at that table, and like people would vote and like get behind you, and that's what I think we really need to get some of these changes that we really want. We'll be able to get things done along the way, but without that like centralized power system that was, is basically created against us, we need to create our own to fight that. We need to fight that system. And all you guys are so right. And Womack keeps bringing it up. Education is the key, because nobody knows this stuff. And that's the worst part. And then with the N-word, should just be abolished. So like, honestly, we should all just stop saying it. We need to challenge people in music, in TV, and in all these places to stop saying it as a collective. Because again, to try to say we reclaimed it, no, that's not. When everyone is using it, how do we reclaim it? Like, how is that reclaimed? It's not doing us any good right now, honestly. It's not. So, yeah, that's what I have to say.
Aaron, I got a question for you, man. I just want to know your thoughts real quick. Back in the day when we talk about, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and all of them, one of the things that they were preaching as well was this Pan-Africanism. You know what I mean? Now, fast forwarding back to today, right? We got black people getting shot by the police. Economically, you know what I mean, isn't fair against black people, right? So much injustice that's going on. When do you say like, okay, we gotta get up out of Dodge, man. We gotta get up out of here. You know what I mean? And we have to maybe as black people, you know what I mean, set up something up of our own, because I mean, look at all the injustice that's been going on for years against black people, slavery and all that, you know what I mean? And that's something for sure they was talking about back in the day. Like this, like for sure was a real topic, you know. All black people in South America and the Caribbean, you know what I mean? It's not only in America, you know, where all this stuff happens. You know, it's just in America, it's like a bigger platform, right? So it gets seen more. But if you look at like black people, say out here in Europe, it's also horrible. You know what I mean? It's really bad. You know, like they get pulled over as well by the police. You know, they're not well educated. They don't have the means to educate themselves as we can in America. You know, so all that stuff is happening like on a global like scale. You know, so what are your thoughts on that? You know what I mean? Because that for sure, you know, a lot of thoughts were coming up in my head. You know, if you look at what happened in World War II, you know what I mean? We all know what happened there with the Jews and everything like this. And they came together and was able to, you know, establish their own country, you know what I mean? Because they were getting killed by the masses, you know what I mean? And it was like, okay, we got to...
James, they didn't create their own country. The Americans gave them Israel.
Yeah, but it was, yeah, exactly. I know that. But it was a movement to start that though. You know what I mean? To go back and create a country for themselves.
They wanted them to be the white policeman in the brown Middle East. That's really what that was about. That's a deeper when you start talking about Zionists. So I'm gonna try to connect Kellen and Jarrett's and James's questions, and we're talking about language, Black Lives Matter, and Pan-Africanism. Language, when we're talking about nigger, well, I do the history of nigger in my class, and my do now question. I did this do now when the principal came to observe me. I said, "How many in this class are niggas? Raise your hand." Everybody was real nervous because the principal was right there sitting at my desk. He's writing and stuff. I said, I guess nobody heard me. How many in this classroom are niggas? And then nobody raised their hand. Nobody raised their hand. They were very, very, very nervous. Nobody raised their hand. And I said, I'm a little confused here. I said, okay, let's back into this. How many of us have ever heard the word nigga before? Everybody raise their hand. How many of you heard it on TV? Raise your hand. On the radio, raise your hand. In the movies, everywhere, blah, blah. In your household, raise your hand. How many of your friends called you nigga today? Most of them raised their hand. I said, how many of you answered to it? Most of them raised their hand. I said, so how many of you are niggas in this classroom? They still didn't want to admit it. I said, either you're a nigger or you're a liar. Which one are you going to be today? And everybody was like, okay, Johnson's on it again. And so they start looking around. Everybody's looking for chains on the floor. Nobody wants to give the eye contact. But it's a trick question. Because if you raise your hand, you look crazy. And if you don't raise your hand, you look crazy and you look like a liar. So I'm boxing you no matter what. There is no way to answer the question.
Psychological.
So when they finally saw 5 or 6 brave souls raise their hand, I shook my head. I said, I'm so embarrassed. And then the other ones, I said, and y'all are liars. And then I started breaking down the history and reasons why people use it, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, let me just do this small exercise with you for some of you guys who think that there was a duality in the word. I said, anybody ever been to Mississippi or any of the southern states before ever? Everybody raised their hands. Like, we all got family down there, right? You black, we all got family down there. I said, how do they say water down south? Water. How do they say sister down south? Sister. How do they say father down south? Father. How do they say nigger down south? Nigger. Oh, I said, so what you're doing is that when you're calling your friends nigger, you're actually using the way in which the slave owner called their black enslaved African. And everybody's like, and then I go into all the other history and stuff like that. So bottom line is, I stopped using that word. I remember when hip hop was getting big, gangster hip hop, when I was in middle school, and I found myself in the driveway singing along to a Snoop Dogg song until I stopped myself. I'll never forget. I was about 12 years old, and I was singing, and I started, and I have a filthy mouth. I curse. That's just me. That's a, you know, that's me. But I'm singing and I'm saying nigga, and I said, my mother, the Saint Earlene Johnson who adopted me, was born and raised in Mississippi. She was born in 1946 in the belly of the beast. And as a child, for me to be walking around saying nigger is completely and utterly disgusting and embarrassing. I said, I'll never say it again. I was 12 years old. And from that point on, I stopped saying nigger and I stopped standing for the pledge at 12 years old. And I started really starting to grab information about what it is to live this dual life of blackness here. So language is important and identity is important, right? We're talking about Black Lives Matter. The organization I don't rock with, but the slogan to remind people that Black lives do matter, I do rock with. And when we're coming around to James's point about Pan-Africanism, I love Pan-Africanism when it works. Pan-Africanism is basically the Black peoples of the world understanding our connectivity and our connectivity to our collective struggle and also being connected to the collective hell of white imperialism. However, white supremacist ideology is profound and it has really, really affected us different Black peoples in different parts of the world differently. So some Black people think that they are better than Black Americans because of the stereotypes that are projected worldwide. I know people that are friends of mine that were born and raised in Nigeria, and they're like, yeah, the images that we get of y'all in Nigeria is just like gangster, thug, you know, Lil Wayne. They don't, so even coming to them, there's a filtering of who, I'm an anomaly to them. I'm like a unicorn to them. And I'm just like, there are a lot of people that are like me, educated, you know, well-to-do, married, you know, like children, like raising our kids. They don't understand that. So Pan-Africanism, this concept of everyone having this collective identity and moving back to African struggle. You have to understand this. Marcus Garvey lived in a different context than we did.
That's right. That's right.
Malcolm X lived in and W.E.B. Du Bois lived in a different context than we did. Marcus Garvey basically said, white folks are really out of their mind and they're not going, there is no way in which we can live here in an equitable space. So let's just get out of here. It's better off to make Africa a strong continent with us and our numbers than to stay here and struggle with them, right? That social media wasn't democratized at that time. Right? White people in general were just basically racist overtly at this time, you know, the masses of white people, right? And then, and now Black people are like, we built America. Why would we walk away from that lottery ticket? Why can't we cash it in? Why do we save, put all that money in somebody else's account and now we can't withdraw from it? What am I going away from? I'd rather struggle for what I deserve and what's mine. So you have to think about the different perspectives that we have, James, and that yes, Pan-Africanism is great if we Black people are worldwide, we're all on the same accord. I like the concept, you know, of embracing our oneness here and being unified here. If we were unified here and embraced our oneness and togetherness here, regardless of our religious backgrounds or whatever, and then we were striving and struggling for our reparations and our freedom, there's one thing if white folks just, you know, kind of demonstrated what they normally have demonstrated and just dropped bombs on us historically. And then we was like, all right, we tried it. We were unified. We did all we can. Let's just get out of here. But we haven't tried that yet. We have always been broken, or we haven't had the power and we haven't had the world watching and caring. There's an empathetic world to some degree right now. Back in the day, people empathize, Jewish people, but people didn't empathize us. They don't. So right now, everybody's looking like, yo, y'all got hell over there. And so there is a movement to be made. And so I live by the principles of Malcolm X's Black nationalism. And if you listen to the Ballad of the Bullet, those of you who have not listened to it, but the Ballad or the Bullet is when he explains in short Black nationalism. And he says, we need to come to the table and talk about how we grow, how we bring up our we raise our political leadership from within. We raise our business leadership from within. We raise everything that connects to us from within, and then we support them because we know that they have our interest at heart when they're in positions of power. He said, I love religion, but leave it in the closet. He said, it has no place in our discussions now. It has a place in certain respects, but in terms of moving forward economically, in terms of moving forward with our discussions about our social justice, we can't afford to get locked in. Well, I'm a Muslim and I believe, or I'm a Christian and I believe, or I'm an Israelite and I believe, and I'm a this. You know how many of us are out there. So that's what I believe. A combination of Pan-Africanism when it works, but Black nationalists at heart. and white folks got to get on board. Either you're going to be on the right side of righteousness, right? Or there's no middle ground to goodness, right? We cannot negotiate righteousness. You're either going to be on the right side of history or not.
Right.
And that's what we have to kind of deal with. I'm gonna plug this phone in my car. Yep.
Hey,
So I hope
Aaron,
that answers the question.
there's another point, Aaron. You go into some deep theological aspects here, but there's another point I want to bring out that you really highlighted, which I think is important. There's a difference between police brutality and then facing racism. A lot of people are having compassion because of what they saw in a video. Our phones become our technology right now, our weapon. But in Selma, when they saw on video the horses stampeding black people, Dr. King said, come to help us in Selma. Come help us. But Dr. King had an understanding, hear this, that people came for compassion, but really were not committed to the civil rights movement. Here is the crutch. We are committed to change right now, but we're not saying exactly what the change should be. And a few laws is not going to change racism and systematic, I would say, digression to many people. So, Aaron, I'm glad you explained that concept, but let's clearly define that everyone is not for real change. They're not committed. They do not understand, and they do not want to take the effort of sacrificing their life. Dr. King knew that he would die. The real sacrifice it takes to make change is sacrificing for the next generation. And I think that's exactly what Dave Leto was saying earlier. Do we understand how to unify and how much sacrifice it's actually going to take? Because police brutality is one thing, having compassion for someone, but commitment to change is a life decision. And Malcolm was speaking from a self-defense. He was speaking from a self-defense perspective. But it's important for us to understand in our reality right now that we've got to make changes where we are, exactly where we are.
You guys have a time position. Oh my God.
Yes. You guys hear me, right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
I agree with that. The commitment here is, and this is why I keep saying that when people have these slogans or hashtags, it's important to bring them into those different rooms. So saying, where we're saying Black Lives Matter, again, reparations matter, reparations now. So when people are actually on these elected leaders are having these conversations, these Congress people are having these conversations, they're listening to our chants. It's not just about police brutality. This is about wide systemic inequality and inequity. So we have to figure out how do we move forward in a multi-tiered approach, because what people love to say, and I'm gonna just be 100. Whenever I'm talking to any of my colleagues, I don't play fake. I don't do the I'll play devil's advocate. I said, look, I don't do devil's advocate, not for my life. I don't do that. We're gonna either have a real conversation and be prepared for me not to care about your feelings, or I'm not gonna speak. So when people say, well, look at all the progress you've made, progress isn't equity. We've been here 400 years and we created the economy of this place, period. The majority of white people came to America at the end of the 1800s, the beginning of the 1900s. They barely have a century here. That's the majority of our population today. If you go and talk to any white person, they can not many of them can trace their lineage back to the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, or the Mayflower. None of them can. Not a lot of them can. But most of our people here that are here have 20 generations on white people. We've been here since the 1700s. We've been here. So when people say, well, look at the progress, I don't care about progress. I want progress, not equity. And we need to make sure that we are focused on looking for structural change for equity.
So if I can interject for a second, and those last words, part of what I wanted to mention, and the structure, the power structure. So if you look at some of the horrific things that we've been talking about over time or in the last few weeks, it's and I don't want to be insensitive when I say this, but I'll Ahmaud Arbery for 1 minute, because it's blatant, and that's the murder by the father and a son was horrific, and it took a long time to see that tape, but it was the cover-up and the shielding of the truth that was in my opinion, the biggest tragedy. And I don't want to say that insensitive, because the biggest tragedy is somebody lost their life. Okay, so all of these tragedies come with the background of secrecy and protection of the white power base, and it's just masqueraded in the police force. Okay, and so here in Chicago, it was Laquan McDonald, and finally, after all kind of trials and tribulations, the officer went to jail, but there were at least 4 other accomplices in the police department that changed the story and rewrote everything to make sure that they aligned with the lie that they had to perpetrate, so that the police officer could be exonerated. So yes, we're focused on the death, and believe me, not for 1 second I'm trying to minimize that. But the part in which is getting lost here is the people that perpetrated this whole story. And so now if you take it from the police force and you put it into lawyers and doctors and Wall Street and everybody who's associated with perpetuating this rightness through whiteness, then that becomes a major problem. And so that's part of what, we're following the emotion of the death, but we're losing track on the reality of the situation.
Yeah, that is correct. And the structures are the problem. I mean, that's why when people say we need to defund the police, people automatically, what do you mean, no more police? No, we said defund. Defund means that we have to take monies away, reimagine how policing needs to happen. I always tell my students when we talk about systemic racism in African American studies, I say, let me ask you a question. Did America send out hundreds or thousands of mental health professionals out to the Black community after they were so-called freed from enslavement to help them deal with the years of rape, torture, and trauma that they've had to endure, and then murder? Did that happen? I said, no. I said, did America send out hundreds or thousands of mental health professionals to the white community to help them deal with or really help them ask questions as to why they assisted in or were complicit in or complacent in their in advocacy for Black people, but they were complicit in rape, torture, murder, culture? No. So they were allowed to participate for hundreds of years and to believe in our inferiority. Meanwhile, we were allowed to get raped, tortured, murdered, oppressed, and enslaved for hundreds of years. And then when we were so-called free, another 100 years of torture came after that. And we're supposed to just get over it? This country is the exact way it's supposed to be in 2020. I'm surprised it's not worse. I'm surprised it's not worse. White American culture has been one of debauchery, has been one of brutality, has been one of complete heinousness. It has been one of it's just barbaric. And so what we have to do is people cannot be retrained. Police officers can't be retrained to be good. The institution is infected with racism. I ask my kids, do you think racism stops at the schoolhouse doors? Do you think it stops at the courthouse doors or the police or department doors? I said racism is everywhere, institutionally embedded. And because it's institutionally embedded, everyone needs to make sure that they are reducing implicit biases. They should have ongoing trainings because we need a cultural shift in America. We don't need retraining. Cops don't need to be retrained. These white men are still killing Black people, unarmed Black people now. There's the dude that got killed at the Wendy's, Rayshard Brooks. This happened after Floyd. These white supremacists are profoundly sick. Think about all these white supremacists that get on social media talking crazy and then they lose their job. Like they're so sick that they have to get this evil out. They have to express it at the cost of a job, or maybe even going to prison. Some officers playing aim at our backs when we're running away. What kind of if your excuse is all the time as an officer, I was in fear of my life, then damn it, you're not a hero, and maybe you shouldn't have that job. We shouldn't regard you as hero, and you shouldn't have that job, because if you're a police officer, you go into the job understanding the dangers. Therefore, you should never be in fear of your life. It's your job to put your life on the line to serve and protect. That's the lens they're allowed to look through, and we give them that. We allow them to say, oh, they need to get home to them. I love to get home to my kids too. if I'm going to buy food or if I'm going to do whatever. I love to get home to my children too. They want to get home to their children because they playing aim and you know, with our backs. So yeah, these are embedded structures, and we have to go for the gusto. We cannot accept crumbs what's coming. And that Biden, look, I'm not going to get political, but I know he can't say much right now on the campaign trail because he still has to get he has to get the white vote. And so people who are somewhat caring at this moment, they still have embedded implicit biases. So he cannot say out loud that he's going to give black people money or whatever. However, if he gets in, if his old senile self gets in that seat, he's going to have to really, really start talking policy about what black people are going to get from his presidency, because we didn't get anything from Obama. And don't let me get started.
I think, Aaron, I think something we should bring up, Divine, who was the gentleman that talked about the education system in the different classes? What was his name?
Oh, that was Rich Giddens.
So Rich said something very powerful. And Aaron, I think you're at it. You're educated, Aaron. You're a historian. You're brilliant. I would love to see you open a school. Let me tell you why. You need to open school. And Aaron, you probably heard this before, because that's the only way you're going to raise up politicians, legislators, leaders, if you train them. You cannot depend on a Biden to train us. And I have some incredible white brothers, Hispanic brothers, who have taught me wonderful things. But they say to me, Jared, where are the schools in your own community? Why have my mother went to school in Lexington, Mississippi? She went through the back door of the colored people door to get her teeth taken care of by a dentist. It was in Lexington, a church school in the South. They had enough sense, even in segregation, to educate their own. I'm challenging you. Hear me, Aaron. I'm challenging you. We can talk, but you got to do it yourself. You got to buy land and you got to build. That's the only way you can get politicians, educators. You have to groom them, as Malcolm, and I'm saying in your language, as Malcolm stated. That's the only way to develop and to ensure that the legacy goes forward. You cannot depend on an education system. And that's why the church is important, because it has an untainted voice. But it's important, as you stated, Aaron, that we collaborate together. 5 guys on this call can help you start us. That's what I'm talking about. That's
let me say this too. I'll take it a step further. And my wife asked me, we've talked about opening our own school, and a couple of my colleagues that I was in school with, we talked about it before as well. However, I will say this. A bullet can end me. And I'm not speaking that into existence, but I'm speaking into how America, white supremacist ideology, how a system, how it ends a movement. If we don't need more leaders, we need leadership. We need a code. So we need a code so that if one of us is eliminated because of how the structure will correct, white supremacy self-corrects, that somebody else can come and replace. So we need leadership. We need a code. We need a code that all of us could be. Look, there are different groups in our country right now that they don't need a code because they're always on code. You go to Chinatown, you don't see black people working anywhere, right? And they're not shamed for it. But black people, once they start talking about self-love, everybody says, well, that's racist and that's not nice. And we always get pushed into multiculturalism and into diversity instead of being really, really, really interested in our blackness, right? And we're not being exclusionary, but because we are the most, we're right now, we're the most vulnerable. So I understand that passion, Jared, about me. Yes, I would love to open up my own school, but I would also love to train educators about how to educate so that wherever they are, whether it's our own schools or whatever white institution that they infiltrate, that they will be able to bring facts. They will be able to bring this to the masses, right? We need leadership. We need a code, and that's what I'm writing a book right now. I stopped writing it last summer. I started in the summer, and then we had a bad storm, and the tree fell on my house and destroyed both my cars, and school was starting. So I was like, all right, let me put this down. I was on page 61. I'm picking that book right back up now that I have a little bit more time. And my book essentially is about the code that we need to adopt as Black people moving forward. What our kids need to know about what it means to be Black here.
Aaron, I'm getting a lot of feedback here, and I'm just gonna read something that my sister just put in the chat. We need to support our communities. We need to run for a seat on the school board in our communities. We need to raise money for our schools in our communities.
I ran for the school board in my community. And you know what, and I have a doctor of education. You know what a teacher said that's actually in the teachers union? After meeting with her, and I'm a teacher myself, so they probably should have backed me, but then I ran and I asked a lot of, I did what I had to do and met with all these people. And she said, I wish he was in our community a little longer and he knew North Babylon better, because I just think he needs to have a little bit more personal connection. I'm like, now here's you asked me questions and I meet the candidates. Oh, that's my lights. The meet the candidates, you asked me questions. And then I answered the questions about in a way that answered them through the lens of like national statistics. And then I answered them through the lens of local statistics, and it's undeniable. And they still, certain ones they didn't want to accept it because they didn't want to talk about disproportionality and detentions and suspensions. They didn't want to talk about limited Black professionals. I'm the only Black male teacher in my school. They didn't want to talk about that sort of thing. They love to say, well, we have diversity here and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, so that structure is a structure unto itself. Because people aren't going to vote for what's best for their district. They're going to vote for what's best for themselves. And these districts that are holding on to white supremacy with a kung fu grip, they want to keep those boards white, even when the population is dominantly Black. Now, how many Black people did not come out to vote for me, or other people of color? We're also exhausted. Our parents and grandparents fought this fight in the civil rights movement, and we're still trying to be recognized as human beings. We're exhausted, so I don't even get mad at them. But we have to outlast racists, I guess. This is going to be a full-on, no holds barred approach, and it's just going to be rough. But yeah,
I'm pretty committed to my lane and what I can do. And so I have 2 young children who are being brought up in the Bayshore School District, and hopefully both of my children are going to have the pleasure to have Aaron as one of the teachers. And I just think that anything my wife and I can do to continue to push the narrative of morality and of like, we can do this, but we have to do it together. I'm just going to keep doing that. And I'm not going to stop. It's what I've always done. So I'm committed to that. And yeah, Aaron, so a lot of people are asking for your information and how to get in contact with you because they would like for you to speak at some engagements. So I know you have your website. Can you give some insight on how to get in contact with you?
Right. So I have a lot of email addresses. One of them, Dr. DRAARON DJOHNSON at Gmail. So it's like Dr. Aaron D. Johnson at Gmail. That's one. My website is elevatedleadershipperspectives.com. I can, and I think Divine, you may have that.
I have this.
And I'm also on I'm on IG. I'm on Instagram, Dr. Aaron D.D. Johnson, Dr._Aaron D.D. Johnson on IG. And I'm on Facebook. It's just Aaron Johnson, I think, or Aaron D. Johnson on Facebook. I used to be.
You got to put all that in the chat, man.
All right.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I used to look. I'm sorry. I used to be on.
Upload your resume and everything on there.
Yeah, I used to be on social media real heavy, but of late, I kind of sat back and I haven't done a lot. But I'll type some stuff in right now.
Divine, can I just say something?
Yes.
We all knew each other from childhood. Am I right? Am I right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Divine, you're the spearhead. God has given you the vision for this platform. Absolutely, we see Aaron is well prepared for this time. We don't pick the time. God puts us in the time where I want to say this to encourage both of you. continue to work together, because I have some wonderful brothers and sisters who are not Black, who are Hispanic, who are Caucasian, who will love to see us work together.
Agreed.
And what I'm hearing is, are you doing anything in your own? Listen, Aaron, whatever you put towards, I'm going to support and I'm going to find, because there's no way to maintain your legacy. Remember what I said earlier. It was Dr. King's father that set a platform for Dr. King. Aaron, you can be brilliant, educated, and informed, Divine. You can do excellent with putting us together. But for legacy, there must be preparation. And it has to be collaboration and unity and strategic planning. So I'm challenging you. Even if it's a session you do once a year, Aaron, if you do it live, online, and you turn it into an institute or training or academy or intensive course, put it together. Put it together. Because you can't be everywhere. But you need to excel in the lane that God has given you so that the masses and more people will be educated and enhanced. Divine,
so
up the good work. Vanessa, you're Divine, you're incredible people. And to everybody else, if you need any support, please let me know. I gotta go get something to eat. I've been on this for 3 hours.
I like to have Christian. I like to have Christian close us out like only Christian can. And then if guys want to stay on and chat a little bit, we can. But I want to end the actual official program, and no one's better than Christian can close us out. Come on, Christian, take us home, man.
Listen, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can follow Aaron, but I would like to thank everyone for joining, for people telling their stories. Aaron, thank you for the history lesson and the motivation and the inspiration. There's so much wisdom on this call right now. There's so much power on this call. Like, I feel even more inspired by listening to everyone speak today. You know, I usually like to talk a lot, and today I just wanted to listen. Aaron, you gave us great perspective, so much important context, you know, about being unapologetically Black and calling people out. And I think we just need to keep the momentum going. You know, we need to continue to have these conversations. We need to continue to use this platform, you know, invite more people, invite people that don't look like us, you know, that don't come where we come from, you know, that wanna, you know, fight the same fight. Yeah, we just need to continue to strike while the iron's hot. And again, Divine, thank you so much. You know, this started with like 4 or 5 guys, you know, and it's grown to 27 people, male, female, young, old, you know, people of all walks of life and different backgrounds and work experience. And we just need to keep it moving forward.
Yep. And last word, August 28th, March on Lincoln. I know myself, and some of the other brothers from our study group have already booked hotel rooms for that day. So definitely looking forward to that. Just so everyone knows, we're definitely gonna attend the March on Lincoln. And Aaron, if you are going to the March on Lincoln, I will be walking right behind you, my brother.
Absolutely, agreed.
So I'm here. Anybody? I'm gonna hang out for a couple more minutes, but we done with the official program. I'm done emceeing right now. You can unmute yourself and speak freely. Have a good night if you're taking off, and happy Father's Day to everyone. Coach Lato, love you. Coach Powell, love you. Thank you so much for today. So with you, Dad, as well. And Ray, thanks for hanging in there, man. 3 hours, Ray. You've been in here for 3 hours and 20 minutes.
Good night, gentlemen. Happy Father's Day to everyone.
All right, now.
Hey, Aaron, I'm working with the guys, National Action Network. I don't know if you're attending the march. I'm working with National Action Network, who's actually planning the march. So call me if you want to connect. All right. Reverend Al Sharpton's liaison, I was on the call with him last night. So we're doing some things with him. But I still want to give you some more platforms, Aaron. So we got to connect. So many more people to connect you with. Okay?
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. I'm around. I'm here. I'm just, you know, I've taken like some breaks from social media that I was on. You know, I was on here for a while,
right?
And then I got off of it and finished up my studies, and So now I'm kind of back tuned in because now everybody's where we need to kind of be in terms of what we need to be thinking about and discussing. So I'm available. I'm still here. You know what I mean? I don't know if you have any my phone number, Jared, but
well, send everything to
I have
Divine.
it. I have it.
Yep. All right.
And then Divine, he'll blast it out to everybody.
All right.
Divine is doing a great job. But there's a few
That'd be
more
great.
people I'm collaborating, especially with this March. Divine, you got a group of guys, and I told Divine yesterday when I ran into this contact, he's really looking for Suffolk. He's really looking, and I don't know how you align with what organization, Aaron. So we'll talk about that, a platform where you can speak to some organization. Because I
Okay.
definitely want to see opportunity where you can sell this out. All right.
All right. Definitely. No doubt. I'm here.
Divine.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
I apologize.
Thank
Divine.
you.
Good job.
No worries. No worries.
Great job, man.
Aaron, man, you have no idea how much I appreciate what you did today, man. When you started speaking, I could look at everyone's face on Zoom, and I'm talking about everybody was attentive. It was very strong. It was very powerful, and I really, really appreciate your time tonight. I really do.
I appreciate it. No problem. We need to be
Yo,
get on
Aaron.
code. Mm-hmm.
Oh, block. Like, if we played basketball, would you block my shot right now?
Well, because I've rededicated myself to health and wellness, and I've lost 50 pounds, and I'm jumping again. I probably can still block your shot. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I couldn't. Just so you know, you're the only person at Open Gym that I could not make a layup on ever. I've never made a layup against you ever.
And I was obnoxious too when y'all used to come to the gym. I was like, nope, I'm not letting them do it.
Unbelievable.
I'm not letting them do it. I don't care. That was my thing.
Unbelievable.
Yep. I was like, I can't let the older heads come and try to do what they always do, try to bully us or school us. I was like, no.
Look at Jake just shoving his face with food right now.
Fine, thank you so much.
Yep, no problem, Ray. Thanks.
Johnson, thank you for educating us.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I'm here. We're growing and learning together.
You have allies. We just got to get it all together. You have allies.
I appreciate it.
That's right, Ray. Have a happy Father's Day.
Everybody have a happy Father's Day.
What's up, Jacob? I seen you've gone in and out of Zoom. You guys are in the pool. You guys are having a good time. Now you're eating. It must be nice. It must be nice.
Yep.
I hope you enjoyed the program.
Yeah, I did.
Aaron, I need you to block Jacob's shot.
Nobody can guard me.
Nobody can guard him.
Nobody on Long Island can guard me. I am Long Island.
I'll play my strengths. I'm an old man, but I'm still strong, and I can. The low post is like riding a bike, and I can still do my little mid range and my hook shot. So I'm pretty good.
There you go. That's it.
I play my strength.
You just stay right. Just stay in your lane. That's it. You just stay in your lane.
21-0. Big ball, man.
I see my boy Mark signed on here. Dad, how was it, Dad?
Very good, enjoyable. I love it.
3 hours. 3 hours. Dad, I don't know if you ever met James. One of my former player, James St. Roberts. He lives in Switzerland now. James is from when I first started coaching basketball.
Box, please.
Yeah. I would say you said I approached you, man. You approached me. I remember the first day I met you, man.
Oh,
Divine approached me too. Divine approached me about James. Say, look, Aaron,
you was looking to stack up your AAU team.
Yeah, I remember Divine was like, Aaron, I got a guy. He's six. He said right now he's like a freshman. He's like 6'5". He's gonna be 6'9". He's gonna be big. He said, you're gonna work with him. And I was like, okay, all right.
It worked out. Aaron, by the way, Aaron, I love watching you play basketball. I loved watching you play basketball. The sheer power and force at which you played with your athleticism is unbelievable. Yo, Jake, just so you know, Jake, Aaron led the nation in block shots for a full season when he was at Southern Connecticut. So I know he would throw your shit.
He won't block me one. That's a quick pump.
Yeah, that's not going to work. He's so quick off his feet.
Yeah,
Jacob,
and I didn't go
doesn't
for
work.
pump fakes either. Didn't go for pump fakes either.
Pump fake, he's gone. Layup. I went
Divine, Divine. It's harder to block someone with a 40-inch vertical.
Oh, here we go. Now Manu's talking from the background over there.
With your bum wrist and your bum knees.
Yeah, whatever.
Divine, all I gotta say is 21-4.
This ain't the VHS tape days. Come on now.
Yeah.
Oh man. I tried to unmute Mark here, but I'm gonna log off this one here.
Yep.
All right, I think I'm about to go and have dinner. is what I'm
Yeah,
about to do.
I ate during the program. When I put my little picture up, I was when I did one
Sitting
of
there on
those, I was eating when I put that up.
I'm about to go to work on some dinner.
Yep. I cook too, man. I'm about to go drop somebody off a plate. My wife wants me to take a care package to somebody. So
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Aaron, we definitely gotta sit down.
Yep.
We gotta
I'm
sit
around.
down and talk. So, so I'll give you a call. I'll give you a call on Sunday.
All right, cool.
All right. All right, guys. Good night.
All right, fellas.
Good night.
See you.
Good night,
All right,
Bob.
take care. Bye.
Peace.
All right.